Pledge of allegiance, please.
Excuse me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I will open the meeting for any public comments. Yes, please.
Last week, excuse me, at last week's commissioners meeting, I proposed to the commissioners about salaries, about reducing the Board of Commissioners salaries down to the same amount that members of the delegation make, and we could use the balance, the difference, towards hiring an administrator. The response I got from Chairman Sorensen is that they run the day-to-day operations of the county, they do the budget, and they meet with vendors. All you people do is vote. You have committees that do all your work. So apparently, Chairman Sorensen believes he's worth a lot more than you people. And like I said, the way the county's being run, maybe it is time that we have someone here that actually runs the day-to-day operation.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Okay. We'll close public comments.
You had another hand over here.
Oh,
Former Commissioner Solomon.
yes, Commissioner Solomon, ex-commissioner, former.
I didn't know whether I should speak. You asked me to come and speak.
Not yet. You're on the agenda.
Madam Chairman, Commissioner Kenny called and said she'd be 15 minutes late.
Okay, fine. Thank you. The first item on the agenda is the salary for the elected officials. And I sent out, Kathy sent out an email for me requesting that the elected officials, if they had questions or comments or thought processes in regards to the salary that they, as elected officials, received. And the only person that I received a comment from was the Registrar of Deeds. And I would like to read what that email was, so everyone is aware, and then we will take up the salary in particular for the Register of Deeds first. Says, Dear Representative Umberger, I have never initiated any raise of the Register's salary in the 7 years I have been in this position. This office is critical to ensure all real estate documents received for recording meet the statutory requirements and index all grantors and grantees with complete accuracy. We also preserve all records from 1840 to the present. In essence, we are responsible for every parcel of land in Carroll County. This is no small task. I trust the commissioners and delegation to be fair in setting the salary for 2015-16, as it has not been changed since 2011. For your information, I'm considering the possibility of retirement and hope we can attract a nominee with the experience necessary to ensure the county and staff are in capable hands. If you require anything further, please give me a call. And at the current time, the Register of Deeds salary is set at $45,000. And if you take a look at the sheet, I think that is hopefully at everyone's share.
Thank you.
Hopefully at everyone's seat. Oh, you do?
There may be a couple of
Oh.
the first quarter.
Yes.
Are there some up there?
Some I see the highlights.
Lou, would you
These things?
Yeah.
Who needs
just
them?
pass them down?
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that didn't pick up a copy? Okay. Page 2.
You get to- no, yours is-
And this is, I think all of you received a copy of Melissa Seaman's email that showed what the salaries were from the various areas. So, I guess that, I don't know what, I'd like someone to
Say something.
say something. I mean, I can ramble on here for the next 2.5 hours, but I think it would be nice if somebody else maybe had a thought. Representative Kaiser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I definitely have a thought, and I would like to put this whole discussion of salaries into context. So I hope I can have a couple of minutes. First, I want to say that I believe that every position, regardless of status, involves work that's satisfying as well as demanding, important, and valued. Every employee that we have here, whether they're elected, management, union, experienced, etc., are providing excellent service and deserve appropriate compensation. And if they're not, that's a personnel issue, not a salary issue. For salaried positions, if their work cannot be completed within a 40-hour work week, then adjustments should be made to either the department efficiency or position responsibilities. And I also want to note that elected positions include an element of public service in addition to professionalism. So, based on that, I believe that we must assure that all county employees are compensated with at least a living wage before we raise the salaries of elected officials who are already above that level. And what I've done is I've taken the living wage figures from MIT for Carroll County. You can pick any other living wage figures you like. I'm just using this as an example. And based on a family of 1 adult and 1 child, because most human beings are born into families, that's what I chose. But again, we can have a discussion on any other level you like to choose. Based on that, in Carroll County, a living wage is $20.37 per hour, or $42,363 before taxes. I can share these notes with you also. So I believe that we should have a 3-stage strategy for addressing this situation. The first stage is that we should raise the compensation for those working under the living wage. I have a list here of 18 positions, county positions, that are currently funded at below the living wage. Second, I think we should adjust the salaries of elected officials to be competitive with similar positions in other counties. And then third, we should adjust the salaries of elected officials to be competitive with non-governmental positions. And I don't expect that we will be doing that today at this meeting, that entire process. But I think we should look at salaries within that context. And I suggest that we form a compensation review committee to look at wages and benefits across the county. And I recommend that it have at least one delegation member, at least one commissioner, the human resources director, a union representative, and at least one member of the public.
Okay, as I am destroying the coffee.
Are there members that wish to speak? I'll help you out while you're there, ma'am. Any other? Representative Cordelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Semperelli. I sympathize with the situation of the registrar in terms of the salary. It had been curious to me to look at the salaries when we did the budget, in that the registrar is making considerably less than the farm manager, which I thought was a curious situation, as my son is a farm manager and he makes far less than our farm manager. And I think that the commissioners brought forward as part of the budget increases for a number of positions, including 2 people in human resources and the farm manager, again. There was the opportunity to bring forward, as part of the budget process, salary increase for the registrar. But all we heard was that these 3 people, were good employees and deserved an increase, and I would say that the registrar did also. But we are 6 weeks approximately past the time when we finalized the budget. So I would say that the timing is inappropriate for this.
Excuse me, before you stick your foot in your mouth.
Okay.
This is for salaries starting next year, not for
Starting
this
next
year.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay,
So
good.
this is, what we do is that every 2 years, the delegation sets the salary for the elected officials. And that way, everyone that is running for office knows what salary they will be receiving. Okay, so this is only for elected officials. Okay? And the sheriff, the attorney, the treasurer, the commissioners, and the registrar of deeds. Did I forget anybody? So we're not looking at, that's what we're looking at. Nothing.
Thank you for that clarification. I
Okay,
appreciate
so,
it.
yeah. Yes, Representative Chandler.
I would make a motion.
Okay.
I would move that the salaries of the elected officials be set at $832 per year higher than they are now, which represents the same amount we gave the county employees, which I think was 40 cents an hour, which I think equates to $832 a year.
Second.
Discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm wondering if we can look at each of those positions and have a discussion. We heard from the Register of Deeds that the funding that, or the salary that we have identified may be low for that position, and I think it's reasonable at least to have the discussion of what it might be. We see that in Coos County it's $40,000, and that's the lowest. Certainly in Belknap at $68,000, that's the highest. But it seems to me that it's reasonable to consider raising that salary more than $832, and for purposes of discussion, I would propose $50,000 as a salary and amend that.
50,000 is less than 800.
It is, and so I'm amending the motion, or proposing an amendment to the motion to,
Okay, I'm sorry.
for the Register of Deeds to raise it to 50,000.
So, right now, the proposal is, or the motion on the floor is for all elected officials to receive an additional $832 a year. And you are moving that apply to everyone except the Register of Deeds?
Correct.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And it's also my understanding that we have received no other communication from any other position relative to the salary lines. Is that true?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Representative Alden?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I thank the representative for his motion of the $832 based on, that's what we gave everyone else. But that was also based on that everyone was working 40 hours a week. And I'm not so sure that some of these elected positions, that those people are working 40 hours per week, like the treasurer. I don't think that person is working 40 hours a week and we're only paying them $4,725 a year. So I think the spirit of the motion is excellent, but I think that we should view each position based on how many hours they're putting in to kind of modify it from there. So I guess that would.
Okay. Representative Merrill?
Thank you. I don't disagree with the Register of Deeds getting more money, but the thing that bothers me, and it's bothered me right along, for example, if you compare Coars County, if you just look at these figures, we don't really know what the workload is in any of these other counties. So it's really hard to make a comparison because maybe they only have half as much work, or maybe we've got half as much work. So that kind of bothers me, but I think that some of these probably could be raised and some of them could be lowered. I don't disagree with what Representative Chandler is saying right now, but the one thing that has bothered me in the past is I am a firm believer in assigning a dollar value to a job based on what the job is worth without any consideration to the person. If the person doesn't meet up to the job, you elect somebody else. But you don't, too many times I've seen personalities come into play when we're talking about jobs or job increases or whatever, and they shouldn't. If you got a bad person, get rid of them. If you got a good person, pay them what the job is worth, and certainly you ought to be able to determine what a particular job is worth. You can't do it sitting here at the table. I mean, some of these come out high and some low, so I don't have, next year I don't have a problem, but at some time down the pike, I think there really needs to be a study done as to what the job is worth, and that's what you should set the salaries. Everywhere that I worked prior to my retirement, the salaries were set based on what the job is worth, and part of that's comparing it with other areas. Part of it's based on what you're actually doing in-house, and we're a little bit different there because if they weren't performing, we just fired them. You can't do that to an elected official, but you can certainly elect them. But also, I don't disagree with what Gene is saying this time, with the exception of maybe the Register of Deeds, because we don't have the information to do it, I don't think. That's basically all I can say.
Representative Lavender, you had your hand up?
I have a question. Is there somewhere a set of recommendations for salaries for these folks, or do we start from scratch and?
The answer to that is there's nothing recommended anyplace.
Okay.
And it is based on what the delegation believes to be appropriate for what occurs. Representative Chandler?
Yes, thank you very much. Well, the issue is, and I'm not in any way trying to pick on the register of deeds, the problem is, I think it's at this stage in the game to try to select out one person to give an increase to and not the rest of them, which I'm hoping we don't do that, but nonetheless. Because I will point out, we have to do this today. We don't have any time to sit and banter around this over the summer or the fall to talk about it. If we agree with even some of what Representative Tyser has talked about, and basically what Representative Merrow said, the time to start on something for, well, in 2 years is now. And do some kind of a comprehensive look at what the jobs entail in other counties. And if you want to do that, that's fine. But I just point out, we don't have the time to do that. We're required to set these before the filing period, which is June 4th. So that's all.
Representative Crawford?
I didn't have my hand up.
Oh.
Sorry.
Is there anyone else?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just to explain why I am asking about the register's salary and considering increasing it, is because it seems to be such an important position and one that we don't have lots of people competing for or running for. And I think possibly part of that reason may be that the salary is such that it doesn't entice as many people to run. I think it's important. We know that Ms. Ayton almost didn't run the last time around, and that could be the case in this next election. And it is such an important position for accurate accounting of our transactions that it seems important that we consider a change.
Yes, Representative McConkey.
Thank you. I've always had a problem, if I could, thank you, Madam Chairman. I've always had a problem with taking a sheet of salaries and what's everybody else paying and saying, geez, we need to average that. So I hold very little weight, and if there are people that hold the other argument, then I, embrace your argument. But these are elected officials, and I know some people sitting at the table that work for $100 a year, and I don't see an outcry out there to get us up to a livable wage. So I discount what I have before me. It might be something for a further discussion. I believe the chairman had gone at great lengths at several occasions and had asked for recommendations. We're speaking of the registrar's position, and I have an email here from a registrar that never said what that rate should be. So I'm more of the opinion that we continue to do business as we have. I see the reasoning behind Representative Chandler's thoughts that if all of our employees in the county are worth 40 cents more, then I think that's a reasonable position, and no more at this point in time. The question was brought up by my fellow representative on the treasurer's position, and possibly that doesn't have as many hours as some of our other officials. So at this point, at most, I would be looking at the Chandler proposal. Thank you.
Representative.
I think that Representative Merrow's line of thinking and his recommendation, I fully support it, because I think when you're looking at the averages, it's really hard to, and what other counties are paying, it's really hard to figure that out. Something that pops out at me is the population of the different counties, and then you see more. So I think that it is definitely worth doing a study of this and seeing what we're paying and what the positions are worth, and I don't think that's been done in a long time. But I do support Representative Chandler's motion. at this time to raise it, the salaries the same amount as we raised those of other people in the county.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Um,
Oh, I'm sorry. It
Yeah,
wasn't.
of course.
Representative Cordelia, you had your hand up first, right?
Thank you, Madam
Okay.
Chair.
Excuse me.
I agree a lot with a lot of what has been said. I think that due to the difference in the time required for these positions for commissioner, treasurer, as opposed to the full-time positions, I could not support an across-the-board increase, and so I would vote against this motion, but I think I
Or
would...
would you like to offer a second amendment?
Well, I think we've
Which
got
we can-
a motion and an amendment on the floor, so I think probably if we vote down that amendment and/or motion, I would be happy to bring another amendment or motion forward, but...
Okay.
And I was thinking that maybe it's more appropriate to withdraw my amendment and to make a separate motion relative to the registrar's position independently, if that's acceptable after the Representative Chandler's motion. Would that be in order?
If you want to withdraw your motion, you certainly can, as
And-
long as the person that seconded it is also willing to withdraw.
And if the 832 per year motion passes, would it still be possible to make another motion to consider a difference for the Register of Deeds?
I don't think so.
All right, then I don't withdraw my motion.
I just would briefly, if I could ask the commissioners or the chairman, the treasurer, does the treasurer come to your regular meetings
No,
at all?
signs the checks every 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, either here every Thursday or every Friday, every other Friday. They sign every week? Okay, he's here once a week.
So he comes here once a
You
week,
just sign the checks, that's all he's doing.
right? And I
Well,
guess,
Excuse me,
well,
that is not all that the treasurer does, okay?
No, he invests our money.
Thank you.
and that's my only point. I mean, I guess you can look at that and say, well, that's too much for him. But by the same token, that's less than $100 a day for the day he's, or whatever part of the day he's coming to do that. So I just don't, to me, it's, all right, if people have a problem with that, we can amend that one too. But that was the reason I got it in there, because it's just the amount of what he does, which I'm sure is not great, maybe, but it's still less than $100 a day is not a lot of money to be doing that valuable job, I guess. So that was it. But
Madam Chair, would you allow a question just for clarification of the process? Is it required by statute that the representatives set the salaries for 2 years, or are you allowed to set for 1? And that's spelled out in the RSA? Okay, thank you.
And that's because when a person runs for office, they know what their salary is.
Okay.
Unlike us, for their term,
For their
yeah.
term.
Unlike us, that where our salary is set in the Constitution.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons why there has never been a huge outcry by the elected representatives to present a constitutional amendment to change their salaries.
Anyone know off the top of their head the RSA that mandates the 2 years?
No, I don't.
Okay,
I
I'll
don't
start.
know if it is one, but that's how we're doing it anyway.
No, there isn't. Yes,
Just allow me to explain, I think you got the tone of my letter a little wrong in my note to you. I've never run for the salary. I care deeply about what happens to me. I would like to retire, but I would like it to be in the hands of somebody that's competent, and they may not find this salary attractive. That was what I meant by that.
I understand.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate that, Ann. Okay, so we have an amendment on we have a motion for all salaries, including the commissioner, the treasurer, and each of the sheriff, register of deeds, who else? Attorney on the floor for $832 per year. We have an amendment on the floor to only raise the register of deeds salary by $500.
$5,000.
Oh. Excuse me. From 45,000.
Yes. A little decimal point.
Yeah, to
you know.
5,000. All right, thank you. So, is there further discussion?
We're doing this in bulk, but one of the positions that we're doing is the commission chair. Did we intend to do the same thing with the commission chair as we do to the commissioners?
Representative Chandler? Would you mind answering that question?
Well, they get the same amount of money.
No, they do now, but it's a separate position, and we could give them more or less money.
I guess they're the same. I'm proposing they get the same amount of money. I'm not changing the commissioner's chairman in any way. The salary is the same now, and I'm proposing it stay the same.
Okay.
No. You're proposing that all elected officials.
We'll get 800, yes, which is the
Right.
same.
Yeah.
The commissioner's chairman and the commissioners all are paid the same amount of money. Under my proposal, they're all gonna get $832 more a year. So they'll stay the same as what.
Yep, Ticehurst.
Okay. Representative Ticehurst.
So just for clarification, for parliamentary procedure here, if a person wanted to consider changing the salary of another position, such as the commission chair, they would have to vote down the amendment and down the...
Once
Because
we vote, excuse me, we vote on the amendment, and then once the amendment is voted up or down, then it's open to further amendment.
Thank you.
And that's essentially what I was getting to, was that we're kind of getting stuck in the mud when all we're really voting on is his amendment right now. And then if it goes up, then it becomes open to more amendments. So we should probably focus our conversation on whether or not we want to change the Register of Deeds salary right now, vote that up or down, and then move forward.
Any other comments? Okay. The motion on the floor is to increase the salary of the Register of Deeds by $5,000, which would bring it to $50,000. Is that correct? Is my math correct? Now? Is that your motion?
Indeed it is, Madam
Okay.
Chair.
All those in favor of raising the Register of Deeds salary to $50,000? Raise your hand, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Motion carries. Okay. Is there any other amendment that anyone would like to make? Any other changes? Representative Nelson.
Thank you. Well, I have a question that's not going to be very popular, and my apologies go to the commissioners, but I'm hearing from the voters that they're not happy with the whole commission system and that it's in chaos. So I would think we should exclude that for the raise for the commissioners, and please don't take that personally. And it's just with all the newspaper coverage and everything else.
Do I have a second to exclude the commissioners from the $832 a year raise? Representative Merrill.
Yeah, I would repeat my comments before. I don't disagree with Representative Chandler's suggestion to raise them $800 and something. Again, we're paying for the position, not the people. If you're unhappy with the commissioners, there are 2 elections this time, vote them out of office. No disrespect there, but that's the way you should do it, rather than somebody says they don't like somebody, raise their salary up and raise it down or whatever else. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I will not be voting for this proposal. On the other hand, just before it comes up again, if you raised the other 2 commissioners' salaries and didn't give the commission chair one, which I don't think is the case, you'll be paying the other 2 commissioners more than you would the chair, and I don't think we want to do that either. So
I think that what the comment was reflective of is that the chair receives an additional
okay.
5.
Same.
Okay, I'm sorry.
They get the same number?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay the way Commissioner Chandler indicated that it should be.
Representative Cordelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There has been some discussion over, well, I've been here, this is my 2nd year, and throughout my tenure here, there's been discussion of the possible move to a county manager position included in the structure of the organization. And I would think that that is something that we are going to be taking a look at as a result of the performance audit. So that'd be one reason why I would want to hold off on doing anything with the commissioner's salary. Just read a report last night about San Antonio. They have a city manager form of government, a very weak mayor position. The mayor of San Antonio makes $4,000 a year. The city manager makes $355,000 a year. So besides sending in my application for city manager, I think that
Not only is it weak, it's poor.
So that would be my reasoning for going along with this motion to exclude the commissioner's position, because I think we might be looking at a change in structure in the near future.
Okay. Any other comments?
Would you allow one more for clarification again? The RSA is RSA 23-7, but further, Representative Chandler's motion is to give the positions the same 40 cents everyone else got for this year.
Well, he's recommending $832.
Does that include next year's increase for those positions as well? If those go up 40 cents, the employees, so it's only a one-time deal for 2 years? Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would support not or excluding the commissioners from this raise as brought forward by Representative Nelson. I've sat through this process a number of years, 10+ years, and I am thankful for the work the commissioners do, but I do not in any way, having sat through budgets over that time, where I repeatedly hear that that's what the budget is, and if you want to do something about it, you do it as a delegation. I don't feel the necessity to raise the salary of those good people by $800, and I will fully support the Nelson Amendment.
Any other comments? Yes, Representative White.
From what I'm hearing is that we're talking about the possibility of moving towards having an administrator.
No, we're not.
No, but is that your reasoning, because you'd like to see it?
No, that's mine.
Oh, okay. Because that's kind of what I got out of it, that you didn't think the structure or the way that we're doing it is, who was it?
That was
the one
mine.
that said it. And my question to that is, I've heard that a lot, people talking about, we need to look at that structure. Is there anything in place to do that, and how would that happen? Is that something the delegation makes a decision on? So in order for that to happen, there would have to be a formal committee, a subcommittee set up and to discuss all the possibilities of how that would work.
Perhaps.
Okay, because that's what I was wondering, so.
But
all right.
at this point, okay, there is nothing on the floor or the table or the rug or any place else.
So then, following up with that, if there is nothing to move towards that, then my inclination would be that what Representative Chandler proposed makes the most sense.
I would just say, the reason I won't support Representative Now, I would think that if his line of thought from people he was listening to had complaints, that they would welcome the extra $832, might give him an incentive to run, see? But I just would clarify one thing. I mean, it'd be my understanding, we would have to fund a position of administrator, but it's not up to us to hire one.
Right.
I mean, okay, so that's all we can do is, if there's a recommendation, is to fund it. We can't hire one. But once again, I get back to, I think the reason I voted against Representative Butler's amendment was I just think we need to treat all the people, all of them the same, and that's why I made the motion I did.
Is there any further discussion? So the amendment is to exclude the commissioners from the $832 increase. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. All those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The motion fails. Okay, are there any other amendments? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to make the amendment that we increase the commissioner chair and commissioner's salary by $250, because I believe that's about what it was the last time we did it, because we increased it about that much. Is that correct? Wasn't it around?
Maybe, I don't know.
My recollections is it was in that ballpark.
Okay.
So that increase is similar to what it was 2 years ago, within $50. And then for the, you know what, keep it as simple as possible.
Yes. Do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay, I have a second. Representative Aldrin, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes.
Well, yes, thank you. I alluded to it. I think it's reasonably consistent with what they were given the last time around. You know, there's pluses and minuses to being an elected official. I mean, I'm certain that the commissioners probably work more than what we actually see, so, you know, gauging it as a per hour thing is probably not fair, but that seems to keep them fairly consistent with what we see across the board, and my recollections are is that was about what it was 2 years ago.
Yes, Representative Merrill.
Just for clarification, we're talking about the person in the question. We're talking about just the chair, right?
No.
No, the chair.
both.
Yeah.
The commissioners.
So you're changing the 800 and something down to 250.
250, that's
Okay,
correct.
that's right, then that's.
Yes.
Any other discussion on that? Okay, the motion is to raise the commissioner's salary by $250. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Motion fails. You had another motion?
I do.
It would be 4 to 9, I think,
Okay.
not 10, right? There are 13 we've had.
13,
Right.
Okay, well, thanks.
Hmm?
It's already been proven, I can't add and subtract. Representative Aldrin.
Yes, and I'll keep it brief. So the treasurer is basically the same motion as I would move that their increase would be the $250 as opposed to the $832 recommended for essentially the same reasons other than, but in addition.
Do I have a
Oh,
second?
sorry.
Second.
Okay, Mel, you may speak.
Thank you, sorry. For essentially the same reasons that I just said about the commission, but in addition, I believe the treasurer really doesn't perform 40 hours a week worth of duty, and is probably that's probably a more appropriate amount of money to get.
Any other discussion? Representative Merrill?
Just a brief comment. I think it's very difficult to tie a job like the treasurer to the number of hours that he performs. You also got to take into consider the fact that he's dealing with a lot of money. And if we have somebody in there who is not as good as the current treasurer, they could really hurt the county as far as money. Not that they would intentionally, but so it doesn't make any sense to me to base that on the number of hours. I would base it again on his performance, and I don't see anything that justifies dropping it. I don't see anything that justifies raising it either, but I don't see anything that justifies dropping it. So.
Anyone else comment? All those in favor of the motion to
Going down in flames.
to provide the treasurer with $250 increase in salary? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I could count that.
I could have helped you with that.
Okay, is there anything else out there that someone has in their mind?
Are we back to the
Representative
$800 number?
832.
Good. We exclude the position of Registry of Deeds from that?
Well, we've already done that. We've already amended the motion to read that the Registry of Deeds will get an additional 5,000. That's already the amendment that's
Okay,
passed.
so that 5,000 is set,
Yes.
not another 800 on top of that. So
I think the question's good.
Okay. So the motion as amended is that all elected officials will receive $832 salary increase, and the registrar of deeds will receive an additional $5,000. That's,
No.
The way you did it now, they'd receive 5,000 plus the 850. You should have, with the exception of the treasurer.
okay, with the exception of the register of deeds, who will receive 5,000. Okay? Any further comments? All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Motion carries.
I'd like to change my vote. I was worried it wasn't going to pass. I wanted to vote against it.
Okay. All right.
Sometimes when you play poker,
We can't have any gambling comments. Okay. So we have the salaries for the elected officials set. Okay.
May I make a comment though? Because in reference to Representative Heiser's, is that still in order to ask a question about that?
Sure.
Okay. And not to get us stuck in the mud, but I was curious because when it speaks of the $20.30 per hour as the living wage, it would be my understanding that that would include the benefit package, and it doesn't appear that the salaries that you have listed include the benefit packages that are offered through the county. So, you know, am I wrong about that, or is it usually the living wage of that $20.30 per hour? That would also pay for like their health insurance, which is not incorporated into the wages you can put down here.
May I respond?
Yes?
Okay. You're entirely right that that is a factor, and that is a big reason why I recommend that we have a little study of the compensation, because it's not just wages, it is also salary. And there are so many ways of looking at it. It's looking at what benefits are offered, whether we accept the MIT figures for Carroll County, whether adjustments need to be made, whether we want to base our assumptions on a single person or a family. It's very complex. So this is just an example to get us started.
I guess as a further comment of it, it makes the statement that these are listed as people who are working under the living wage, and it's very clear that many of them aren't if you add in the cost of just their medical insurance for a single plus one.
I think there's room for argument about that, but I don't think this is the time and place. But I understand your point, and I agree with it, actually.
Representative Cordelli?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we had already, as part of the budget process, discussed the possibility of a subcommittee to take a look at health insurance in terms of the possibility of in the future offering a stipend for those who might forego benefits due to coverage in another means. So would the chair still be looking in terms of forming such a subcommittee to look at health insurance?
I think that Representative Ticehurst's piece of paper here allows a committee that can look at the entire package, not just salaries, not just, not just benefits, but rather the entire thing. So we'll think about that for a little while, and, I mean, not long, but.
So, thank you, Madam Chair. So a committee to look at compensation packages might be considered, but you want to think about that for a bit, about how we move ahead?
Yeah, a bit, maybe like 11 o'clock.
I'm willing to stay till 11.
Madam Chair?
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Shouldn't this discussion be wait and held after the election? Nobody knows who's going to be here, what they're going to want to do, who's going to be anything. And so if you do anything now, it might be changed anyway, so.
I won't disagree with that statement. However, if we wait until after the election, we more than likely won't get anything done for next year. And so even though none of us may be back, okay? But at least it is something for the next delegation to think about. I mean, none of it will be cast in stone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would suggest that the chairman take a look, and this is one thing that I always get concerned about, is the line of what we do and what the commissioners do. I'm not sure what our involvement in doing something like this is, and I think we have to be very careful that
we don't
cross the line. And it isn't fair we tell them when they do, and so we should be told when we do, I think. And so I just suggest that someone take a look and decide if we're going to go ahead with something like this, exactly what our parameters are of what we can do, that's all.
Okay.
May I just have a moment to clarify that?
Yes, you may.
Okay, thank you. The intent of the suggestion was just to gather information so that the next delegation has firmer footing for their decision, not to make any decisions.
Okay. We have not approved the minutes of the April...
March 28th.
March 24th and March 17th minutes.
March 28th minutes.
No, that was the draft date. The actual meeting occurred on the 24th.
The draft date is the 31st. Those are my minutes?
I ran them off.
They don't look like my minutes.
These are the ones that were here this morning.
Well,
Are those subcommittee minutes?
I suggest we put off this discussion to the later.
After the election?
after the election. Okay, I show in here that the March 17th minutes were delayed. It says further consideration of minutes was tabled until Superintendent Johnson could be asked to clarify the provisions of the new law regarding installation of blue lights on the jail cars used to transport inmates.
I think he did that, though. He did, yes, I reported on that.
In the following meeting, correct.
Okay.
Was it the wrong meeting or later the same day?
All right, I'll tell you what I'll do. Let me look at my calendar and we'll look at what we have here. And in the meantime, I will ask Dorothy Solomon to speak to us about the committee's progress on the veterans home. Representative Butler, I think, at our last meeting, handed out.
I did.
Okay.
To everyone.
To everyone, on the veterans home. And so that was to provide some framework for our discussion. And so, Dorothy, if you could begin.
Thank you. The work that we're doing, as a matter of fact, we have a meeting at 11 o'clock this morning. The work that we're doing is progressing very well. We have an initial proposal that we're going to actually be taking up today, and we are we have gotten our 503C from the state. We have
501c3.
501c3 from the state. We have our EIN number, and we are presenting our 501c3 to the federal government.
The state doesn't provide that until the federal government does.
And we have, although it was not as successful as I would have liked, we have run our first fundraiser. But at that fundraiser, although there were not many people due to a conflicting, something conflicting happening in the area, another fundraiser, we did get a commitment from the Veterans of Foreign Wars to work in tandem with the American Legion on our behalf, and they will be running fundraisers for us as well. We are going out, I have been at 2 selectmen's meetings to advise selectmen in the area as to what we are doing, why we are doing it, and what's happening. And we're progressing, I think, at a good pace.
Okay. And if I might just ask a couple of questions.
I have an answer.
Are you making any progress in regards to the possibility of federal funding assistance through the Veterans Administration?
I have gotten in touch with all of our representatives in Congress, and I am working with the VA.
In D.C.?
I am trying to, yes.
Well, I mean, since
Since
at the federal level, they have done away with earmarks.
Yes.
I
Getting
realize that
difficult, and there's not a
it-
whole lot of money there to start with.
that it becomes essential to work through the department.
Yes.
And I assume that they have somebody that handles grants and that nature.
Yes, we will be working on that issue as well, certainly.
Representative Merrill?
Yes, thank you. If I can take a couple of minutes, if I may. As I'm sure most of you know, I have decided not to run for re-election. But I would like to get some comments and my thoughts on this on record, just so that you will know how I feel about this. I am a veteran. I am entirely sympathetic to any homeless veteran. However, I am concerned about the Veterans Home coming in here for a number of reasons, which I'll go over. Number one, I have asked, I don't know how many times since we've been here, how many homeless veterans there are in Carroll County. And each time, I think the last time I asked Mrs. Sullivan, she said, I'm not sure, but if we build it, they'll come. And I don't have any doubt about that. My concern is that we're probably going to build some of this with grants. And I don't think that this is going to be limited to the veterans of Carroll County. I think probably veterans from anywhere in the state will be able to move in here. And I'm not even sure about whether or not out of state. But I think that's something that needs to be considered. The other thing that concerns me as a resident of Ossipee and a former selectman is the fact that what are they going to do when they're here? There's really not any jobs or places for them to work in Ossipee. What are they going to do about transportation, public transportation, and what are we going to do to move them around? And my concern is that at some point, either with the people here or not, maybe this will turn into a homeless shelter, I don't know. But if we're not able to find jobs or things for them to do, which I think are necessary, then probably some of these people will become welfare recipients, which will put an additional considerable burden on the town of Ossipee, and I'm concerned about that. And the other thing that I'm not sure about, but if this is, and maybe Mr. Solomon could answer this one, but another concern, if in fact we get a government grant for this, are we going to be prejudiced if we only let men come to this rather than men and women both? I don't know the answer to that, but these things that concern me, and if I didn't have some good answers to that, if I were here, I would not be voting for it, even though I strongly support the homeless veterans. That's all I wanted to say.
May I respond to some of these things?
Yes, you may.
In our proposal, in Carroll County alone, well, let me go back. Veterans make up just 9% of the total U.S. population, yet there are 13% of the population experiencing homelessness.
The U.S.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
In Carroll County alone, this includes 41 veterans. This is as of 2014. And even that is not a number set in stone. When they count homelessness, whether they be veterans or non-veterans, when they count homelessness, they go to the shelters, which we don't have any, and they count. So this is a, at best, guesstimate of what we have here in Carroll County, this 41. Saturday, I sat for several hours at the Be Kind Festival in Schuler Park. And while I sat there, a number of people came up, because I was sitting there with a sign that said Veteran Housing. A number of people came up, one of which was, and he told me, a young man, he said he was homeless. Not the kind of homeless you're thinking of. He was living in somebody else's house. That's homeless, when you don't have your own place. That's also homeless. With regard to what the arrangements for work and what have you for these gentlemen, the proposal that we have is that we give them and help them get readjusted for work, give them help in there, and that would come from the VA. I've already spoken to the gentleman down in Manchester about this. We will have a vehicle to transport these people to where they have to be at any particular time. With regard to the public service, I have been in touch with the Blue Loon, and they will reinsert this area for a bus route, so that they can get to other places they may have to go to that we may not be able to provide at that particular time. As to what you brought up about out of county and perhaps even out of state, I have to say this because it's been something on my mind for a long time. When people go into the service, you should know, you raise your hand and you say you are supporting the United States of America. You did not raise your hand to support the state of New Hampshire or the county of Carroll. And so I cannot, in good faith, in good conscience, say that we would say no to somebody who came from someplace else other than Carroll County. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's American.
May I just follow up on a couple of questions?
Yes, you may.
First, I'm not saying that we shouldn't take people from Carroll County just because we're limited to Carroll County. What I'm saying is, there seems to be a lot more, I would think there would be a lot more jobs in the southern part of the state that these people could pick up rather than coming here. And the second thing that bothers me, and I think you hit it, I believe that you do count homeless if people are living with their parents. So that means not only do we have homeless veterans, but based on the way that the homeless people are counted, anybody, any child, anybody who's living with their parents is considered homeless in the homeless count, and I don't think that's right. But that's my thing.
We don't do the homeless count.
Yeah.
No, but but she brought it up as
Right.
that, so I just wanted to
Gotta
kind
run again.
Gotta
run again.
Okay.
We need you both.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dorothy. I appreciate it. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm sorry.
May I ask a question?
You may. Sorry, Dorothy.
Thank you for allowing me to ask this question, but since it appears that a lot of the success of this is pending a grant from the federal government,
Not necessarily.
so I guess I missed the presentation. So how much of the money that you intend to raise is from private funds versus a federal grant?
I have not put a number on anything. Anyone who wants to offer me money for this project is welcome to do that.
total cost.
So, as a follow-up, so is there a grant program established by the federal government to provide funds for this type of establishment?
There is money.
Okay.
I understand there is money. I don't know how much is left.
And what would be the timeline that we could anticipate, knowing whether they would believe that that facility fits within the envelope of something they'd be willing to grant?
I can't answer that. I
If
don't.
I'm not mistaken, we provided the committee 18 months to get...
Oh, I know what you're at. Yes, I know that. I don't know the answer to this question. When the
their
grant people were ready.
their stuff together, okay? And I think the 18 months is up April, yeah, roughly, sometime soon. Okay, and so the answer is that all of that funding, all that stuff has to be in place prior to April, or the project is dead. Okay? And Representative Coffin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a brief question and maybe some clarification. In your proposal for the homeless shelter for veterans, is there a time limit on how long that veteran will be staying in the facility? 2 years. Okay, thank you.
But that's at the outset. They will have to make their own commitments when they come in. They work with the director and they decide what they want to do and how long it should take them, and they will proceed that way.
All right, I don't wanna, I just wanted an update. I don't think we need to get into all the nitty-gritty of things here. And I think that we all needed to know where they were going and what they were doing. And so, Dorothy, I appreciate it, and thank you for working on this, and I believe that Representative Butler is also involved in that, and we thank him for that as well. And so you've got a lot of work to do between now and April. Okay. All right. After talking to our trustee secretary, the minutes that we need to approve are the ones from March 28th, which was sent out to everybody in draft form. And I obviously, when I ran them off this morning, the ones I thought needed to be done didn't.
The only minutes, Madam Chairman.
Everything else has been approved.
Okay, I move to accept the minutes as distributed for March 28th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right, thank you. Okay. Well, this fax just came in, and this is from Donald M. Smith, who is attorney, and he suggested that we raise the salary for the Register of Deeds I guess he wants to say $10,000, right? So we have already taken care of.
Duran get elected, he can vote on it.
That's right. That's right. So I appreciate that. I'm sorry that we got it in a little bit late. Okay, so we've got the minutes approved. All right. Is the performance here?
Yes.
Okay, would you introduce them?
Yes.
Okay, we'll skip to the performance audit and see how that is progressing. Mark?
Thank you. We have the pleasure of Alan Pennington in the room this morning from Matrix Consulting Group. Had asked him if he could come and give us a brief summary of where they are at this point in time, just educate the delegation, and have the delegation engage in a short discussion if there are questions. With that, Alan.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. As you know, this has been a project that there's been a lot of discussion about. We officially kicked it off around April 24th, so not quite a month ago. And in the interim time period, what we have done is we've interviewed all the staff who are involved in the Commissioner's office and in HR, the areas that we are focused on. We have also met individually with department heads throughout the county to understand the services and interaction that they have with those individuals. We are currently working on, and we'll probably have our initial draft document done within the next 2 weeks, which is the existing profile and the best practices assessment. We'll review that with our steering committee and then move into our analytical phase. So far, staff's been very accommodating to us as we needed to meet with them. We've begun our data collection. We still have some that we are undertaking, but we've run into no issues at this point. We've also met with each of the commissioners individually so that we had a chance to talk with them as we were going through this. So right now we're on track, we're on schedule, things are going well. I have no concerns that I would want to raise with the group or share. we did not schedule, and we weren't asked to schedule times to meet with each of you if you had input that you wanted to give, but I am available. Our steering committee has my email and phone number, and you're welcome to let me know if there's something you'd like to share with me or talk with me about. I'd be more than happy to do that at any point.
No, I'm pleased to see where we're at, and being on schedule tells me we're probably in our parameters of what we had agreed to pay for this, so I'm very glad to hear that.
Yeah, I haven't even billed you yet.
Yeah.
So.
You can withhold that till next year then. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Does anyone have any questions? Representative Butler.
Thank you. The report that you're going to produce soon is a preliminary report?
It is an interim document. It's not even a final report. It's our what we do is, under our proposal, we talk about having a profile document, which basically says, here's who you have allocated to perform the function that you've asked us to review. And we use that as a way to ensure that we fully understand the positions, so that everyone agrees, yes, we have 4 people in finance and 2 in HR, and these are the roles of their duties. So that when we get to the recommendation phase, we're not disagreeing, oh, you didn't really understand. The second piece of that is where we compare your practices to best practices, principally in the financial and HR areas, as well as general administration, for other county organizations. So it's based upon recommendations from professional associations, our experience working with county organizations and other municipal organizations throughout the country. And basically we have a standard in place, and then we say, is it a strength in Carroll County, or is it a potential opportunity for improvement? When we do that, that doesn't mean that potential opportunity is a recommendation, but it means here's something we're going to analyze in that next stage to say, is there something that should be recommended to improve the operations? And if it's a strength, we want you to know that, because it's important to build upon the strengths we already have in place as we're moving forward. So it's a quick way to get a sort of an overview of the organizational in terms of how it stands today and the areas that we think warrant further review in our last phase of the project. So.
Thank you.
Yes, Representative Cordell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just wondering, maybe it's a timing question. I believe that the county is in the process of having financial audits done for several years. Since a scope of the performance audit is financial controls, it certainly would, I would think, be beneficial to the performance audit to have available information about any financial audits that have taken place and things that might come up during those financial audits. So I'm just wondering if we know when any of the financial audits will be completed so that they could be made available for the performance audit team, and or if it would be a benefit or maybe to have the performance audit team matrix talk to the company that's doing the financial audit to see if there's anything that they should be aware of in doing the performance audit.
Myself, I think that's a decision.
Well, we do have on our list of calls to make a call to the auditor. Just to touch base, not to duplicate their efforts, but to understand, we know what's been done to date, we know what current practices are. We want to just at least touch base so that we coordinate, so that we don't come out with conflicting reports that, based upon different information, that then puts you in a difficult position. And how do I deal with this situation now that we have 2 different reports out there? So we are planning to touch base with them, assuming that they will talk with us about it. I think that will be sufficient.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other? Yes.
Just to clarify the preliminary report, you said I think you would meet with the steering committee. Is that the performance audit committee? Okay.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
And we would typically also meet with county staff to review it with them. Maybe not at the same time, but we'd meet with them also, because they're sort of factual documents, and it works best for us to address those as we go through the process.
Thank you. I think we're there.
Yeah, and that's Representative McConkey will let folks know when
that's happening, so we can
when that's
convene the
happening.
committee,
And
yes.
if, I mean, if anybody wants to attend, those meetings are all open, so.
Thank you. So the notice could go out to the entire delegation? Great, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you very much. And please don't take notes about this meeting. Remember, we only earn $100 a year.
We don't get the 832?
No, we don't get the 832, and you notice our 832 guy left. Okay. Also, on our agenda today is the nursing home annex demolition and the Bonnet Page and Stone activity for the work that needs to be done at the nursing home. The commissioners have been mulling this over for at least a year and a half, and have basically, as far as I know, since I haven't heard differently, taken no action towards the demolition or towards updating the Bonnet Page and Stone nursing home thing. So hopefully we will hear something different.
I've been working on that, and I will be presenting a proposal to the full board on Wednesday as to the RFP based on Bonnet Page and Stone's information that they presented to us and to all you folks. I'm calling for a proposal that be in the 1st of July and work to be completed by the 1st of October, which would include those items that Bonnet Page and Stone had mentioned. We have confirmed what the cost would be in taking down the wings, and in the proposal, we have taken down 2 wings with the possibility of taking down the other 2 as well. So that's would be included in there. I'm assuming that it would be just double what the 2 wings that we are proposing to be taken down. So that's where we stand. There are other items to discuss regarding the annex or the old nursing home. I've asked Attorney Gordon to be here today to present a case regarding her office and expansion and so forth. So if you allow her to speak for a few minutes, it'd be fine. Great.
I would suggest that, I understand, Robin, where you're coming from, but there is, at this time, no legislation has been brought forward on the briefing that you received, what, a month ago?
Mhm.
And whether or not it goes any further is an interesting comment. And if the county attorney, in your estimation, wants to move into a space in the nursing home, in the old nursing home,
Mhm.
that's the commissioner's choice.
Okay.
If you remember correctly, we have no one to occupy that space. You have no contract with either the co-op or the probation people. So you certainly have a lot of space over there that is empty. So
Could I ask Commissioner Babson to give his report on the probation office potential in the old nursing home?
yeah, I mean, this is, if you've got someone that's willing to sign a contract, that's great.
Would you like to hear it?
Sure.
I arranged last Friday to meet with the probation office that It has appeared to show a lot of interest over the last year, and I'd like to thank Representative Algren for taking the time out of his busy day who joined me. We met with the head of probation and the woman in charge of the state leasing of all lands for about an hour and a half, Chris, or Representative Algren. I would say that they are very, very interested in moving in here. The expense of fixing the building wouldn't be anywhere near the cost of fixing it up for the cooperative extension, nor would it take as much space. We have to, they'll be sending out a request for proposal. We have to write a letter that we're interested in having them here. It's a 5-year lease. As they said, 5-year leases go on for quite some time. Part of the problem is they don't have any money up front to pay for the renovations, so that we, depending on what it costs us to do the roof and the other repairs at the old nursing home, we may not have enough money to put upfront money to make it so they can move in, which seems kind of foolhardy to me if we can get a 5-year lease that's going to last for God knows how long. We took measurements. I wrote up a proposal to put in the paper to see if people would come in on and give us an estimate of what it would cost to turn that into office space. And we're waiting for the okay on that, and then we'll move forward. I'm convinced that the probation office would like to be here.
Representative McConkey.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner and Representative, for taking the time. The lease that they're paying now, can you share with us what they're paying now for office space?
I believe they told us they're paying $700. That includes heat, electricity, and water. And they take care of their own janitorial.
Representative
Thank you. Are you finished?
Yes, sir.
For the moment?
Go ahead.
Maybe.
And thank you very much for coming over.
Well, thank you for inviting me. In addition to Commissioner Chandler's comments, which I believe he was on point with, was that essentially is they pay $14 a square foot for the space. So we would get, and they were looking at about 1,000 square feet, but then that moved up, right?
Yeah, 2.
So now they're looking for 2,000 square feet. Okay, so we'll get $28,000 per year in rent, but that's also includes the heat, the water, and that sort of thing. So at first blush, without really having a chance to look it over, it appears that it's certainly worth pursuing, looking into this. That in conjunction with the fact that once we maybe have Bonnet, Page and Stone come back here and look, the core of the roof core may not need this very expensive rehaul. The core is still pretty watertight. It's really the wings that are having all the leakage problems. The core, Bob, the maintenance, he was over there. So the core seems to be relatively watertight over there. So we may not need, and that's because that's a big chunk of the money in that Bonnet, Page and Stone. It's like $450,000, rings a bell in my brain. But it's a big chunk of the money to renovate. If we can avoid that with an easier fit, then those costs may come down appreciably. So the amount of money that we could use to renovate, and it's about $125 a square foot to renovate it. So it's going to cost us $2,000. It's going to cost us about $250,000 to renovate it. approximately, these are just quick numbers, quick construction numbers. So it's at least, if we're gonna get that much money in, it appears that this is worth pursual. The location is ideal for probation. They are not gonna wanna leave once they get in there. They're right by the courthouse, they're right by the jail, it's very good for them. It is where they would love to be if they can get it to work out to be there.
If action had been taken earlier on getting this done, which the commissioners have had the authority for a long time, then maybe it wouldn't be quite so expensive. But when they come forth and do whatever they're gonna do, then, and I have no problem whatsoever with the probation people moving here. I have no problem whatsoever with the attorney moving over there.
Pretty broad statements. Individual.
I mean, that's what we agreed to as a delegation, so. Representative Bucco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Am I mistaken, or my memory tells me that, yeah, I could be way off.
You hearing voices?
It was my understanding that any proposal to use that space would have to come up with the renovation costs on their own. Am I hearing now that through the county budget, we're going to use county money to renovate that space?
That's what I just heard.
That will be a decision by the delegation, not today.
Just a follow-up, well, isn't that changing the policy of everybody that was
No.
asked to submit an RFP?
What Commissioner Babson proposed was if there was money left over from the renovation, then perhaps it could go to improving the inside, because we cannot use that money that is left for anything other than the old nursing home. Or,
The interest.
yeah. Other than
the interest.
Yeah.
On the-
So, I mean, that's kind of where we are. Will we make a, I don't want to get into a whole discussion because we don't have the proposal yet. And I sincerely hope that as they talked about it, Page and Stone, that our goal was to preserve that building for another 30 years by a new roof, or whatever it was.
Well,
Yeah.
that was just the central core.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
I lost my train of thought on
But-
it. It was something else that you had said. but-
Your memory serves you.
Yeah, well, that's.
Commissioner Babson, I believe you had your hand up next.
Yes, I did. Representative Umberger, I take umbrage with what you said, that the commissioners, had they been working on having the probation office come here, we might be farther down the road.
I didn't say that at all.
You said something very similar to it.
I said if Bonnet, Page, and Stone.
I apologize, I understood it to be,
No.
you were insinuating that if we had done our work on the probation office,
No.
that we might have been farther down the road. I can tell you.
Absolutely not.
There's been a lot of effort put into getting the probation office to come here.
Representative McConkey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to make a quick note. Representative and I had occasion to speak on the floor next to each other, and I just want to, the chairman made mention that she would like to see that happen, and I would like to state that that would be her personal feeling, and not the position of the vice chair or to speak for anyone else. I would agree with Representative Bucco that our agreement was that the commissioners were to pursue any goal for space that would be there, but that my understanding, we were not paying for renovations, that was part of their thing. And I believe that's been part of the issue that the commissioners have had a hard time working through. And I still stand by that position. And to hear that it would be nice to have an organization over here because they would be in close proximity. They might pay $28,000 a year, but it would cost us $250,000 or a 10-year payback for that space. I do not even begin to think that makes financial sense. So I just wanted to support the representative's point, and we have every month or every week there's a new proposal that maybe someone's going to come by and maybe somebody's going to fill that space, and maybe someday there'll be more money that'll come forward to do that. I am glad to hear that the commissioners are telling me that come October, that building's going to be down, or they're going to have cash in hand with firm commitments for that space. I applaud the commissioners for moving forward, and I look forward to being here with my hard hat on that day to see that building down. Thank you.
Representative Merrill.
Yeah, I agree with Representative McConkey on that, but just a clarification for me. Well, I know that the UNH extension probably is gone from there, but am I not correct that if they were coming in there, we would in effect been getting $45,000 a year, because that's not what we would have had to pay for rent up in Conway? So we're actually making less money with the probation than we would have with the extension.
I'm not, well, this,
Am I correct?
Just a comment, okay? I'm not sure that the space requirements were the same.
Okay.
Okay, and I don't know, you
It
know.
was 3,000.
So, Representative Bucco.
Yeah, but it was 3,000 square feet. But the other thing that you mentioned earlier was that if there's money left over, as I recall, that money was dedicated just for demolishing the wings and not for renovating space.
And replacing the roof,
Yeah, well,
whatever,
core roof.
whatever the things that needed to be done to protect the building. Representative Sorensen, or sorry, Commissioner
That's
Sorensen.
okay. I got a raise, you guys didn't. but
I know, that's all right.
You just took a loss.
You referenced Bonnet, Page and Stone. Now, the way I'm writing up this RFP goes out to a general contractor, but it's based on what Bonnet, Page and Stone had presented. So Bonnet, Page and Stone may not get the
Right,
bid.
and that's, you know, I'm only using Bonnet, Page and Stone.
Okay.
Because that's the people
That's
that
what I
have done
thought.
the work so far. If you come up with another general contractor, great.
And the only renovation was the laundry, which was in Bonnet, Page and Stone's proposal. Okay?
Okay, so we will, Representative Balkin.
I just wanted to maybe provide some clarifying points.
Sure.
Quickly. Just because there's about $1.1 million left over from the building of the new nursing home. Okay? And that what was presented was that we could keep 10,000 square feet of the 15,000 square foot core and basically put a brand new roof on it and do some renos to the laundry, and there's some more things in there for that $1.1 million. We could do 10,000 square feet, okay? The other 5,000 square feet of that building was what this RFP was to go out for, where you built it to suit, okay? What's within the 10,000 square feet area, which this is, the delegation can agree to fund money for that, or for cooperative extension, or for whatever else might go in there. So that idea was, we can only keep 10,000 square feet for that amount of money. If somebody wants that other space, we would give them a fantastic deal based on the fact that we can't afford it. So you're gonna give them a great deal to get in there. Okay, so that's the difference, and that's why it's not really changing. Okay, do you see what I'm saying? So that's why it's not different. So it is possible for cooperative extension to come in there if a future delegation decides to pony up the $300,000 it takes for them to come. That's all. Just like they're gonna have to pony up the $250,000 to let probation come. And there's still room over there for cooperative extension to arrive after this little thing, if that's your concern. And the point I was trying to make is if we don't indeed have to spend the $450,000 on the roof, that we might be able to come up with something that's, less costly but still be as effective, then we will have a couple $100,000 to maybe keep all 15,000 square feet because of that. That's all I was trying to lay out to everyone.
Well, we will see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
And you said you're looking at getting back to us by October? Is that correct?
Building's coming down.
Before that?
That was what I heard.
Yeah.
But the wings,
As soon as we find out who would be bidding on it, we'll let you know.
what about the wings? When are they being demolished?
The two of them would be done before October, because that's in the bid, that's in the plan.
Okay.
Yep.
Through our subcommittee, we voted that those two wings did need to come down. There's no reason to keep those. What we're paying for the off-site maintenance,
Mhm.
that does need to happen.
Okay.
So I don't know if we can, what
All
do
right.
you want to do from there to try to urge them with a motion or?
Well, I just heard that it was going
In
to
the
be
works.
done by October, so.
Okay.
We'll all come down for a party in September as they
Okay.
swing the ball to demolish the wings. Okay, thank you very much, and hopefully we can get that straightened out. Okay, the next issue is a business plan for the farm. That was part of our budget discussion, and I was just looking for an update on what was going on and how the manager of Public Works is that what we named it? How he is coming on his business plan so that we can figure out that we said no piggies, but they have appeared. And so I assume that there must be a business plan that would suggest that piggies made sense. But since I haven't seen one, I would question whether there is sense to be made out of that. So if I could hear where we stand on that, and I can't stress enough that we have talked and talked and talked about a business plan, whatever it is, for the farm.
Bill has a business plan template that we got from the New Hampshire Small Business Development Corporation, and he's working on it. This is the busiest time of the year for him. He already works a lot of hours, and at some point, we will have one for you.
Some point before the budget. Am I? Okay, thank you. Representative Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd just like to know if the piglets that are being raised are private or for the county. And my second question would be, what the food that's being planted is, have they spoken to the nursing home to plant what they need rather than what they want to have planted to meet their needs? Instead of just planting squash and the nursing home wants spinach, have they conversed on what they want?
They've had several conversations. One, what they're going to raise. They're going to keep it in the product in the refrigerator at the old nursing home when harvest season comes, because they obviously can't eat it all at one time. Squash doesn't go very well 3 times a day. Your first question, the pigs belong to Willie. And,
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing the
the
commission.
pigs belong to Willie, so the answer to that question, they are owned privately.
Yes, Representative Nelson.
Well, I thought that was decided that the piglets were not going to be there, one, and do you have any idea how many there are?
I will answer the first question, that yes, we told the commissioners that the farm was not supposed to have piglets. They decided that they should make up their own mind about piglets, and that we had nothing appropriate to say about them, and that it was none of our business. So, we have other options, since they have chosen that that's the way they want to go. So, I will let him answer the question as to how many piglets we have, or are over there. How many private piglets we have over there.
I can't tell you, not my day to watch the piglets, Representative.
I assume it's your day to watch.
4,008 piglets.
I'm sure it's your day to watch the fact that the people that work in public works and agriculture are not spending any time during the day taking care of them.
As far as I know, they're not.
Or, no, that wasn't my question, that wasn't what I said.
They're not. He comes up here after work, or he does it on his lunch hour.
The sheriff has a comment.
I think just a point of clarification. If I remember right, back at that meeting about the pigs, I think it was just a recommendation by the delegation not to have pigs, not to say that they couldn't. I think they just didn't fund it, is what I believe was right.
I'm not going to go back and pull out the piglet motion, and that's okay. And I don't want to get into a piglet discussion, okay?
Representative Merrill has a question.
Yeah, that's right. There was a recommendation.
Representative Merrill.
Thank you. I'm not sure, there's 2 pieces here. I'm not sure that if in fact these piglets were raised as part of the farm, and it was the farm's property and they were going to be used here, I don't think the delegation would have the authority to tell them that they can't use it. But I don't think they should be raised by a private individual for his own private use, and I think that is where the delegation has the authority to do something about it, whether you want to do it.
Okay, so we buy the pigs.
Representative Ticehurst, did you have a?
Well, I guess the comment was that we wouldn't be looking into what our decision was, and I just feel that it would be important to go back and review that, because there does seem to be a great deal of conflict about this. And I also want to note that when the subject of the farm comes up, the tone in the room changes. The facial expressions change, the tone of voice changes. It, to me, feels very adversarial, and I think we could do better.
Representative Cordelli.
Yeah, recommended.
Go ahead, Representative.
Thank you. I think the issue is private operation being run on county-owned land, whether it's piglets, used car sales, anything like that. If it's to benefit a private individual or a private company on county property, that's a whole different issue. And I think that's where the issue in relation to the pigs comes in for us as a delegation.
Representative McConkey.
Thank you. I would agree with Representative Cordelli in that it's a private business existing on county property. And just want to note that 2,700 square feet of a building owned by the county that I believe that we have paid for renovations in the past. And there seems to be some memory, collective memory, that this delegation in the beginning afforded funds for the feed and not for. And to have the commissioners wasting the amount of time that's being wasted to keep something going forward. And if you want to see faces that turn, mine will turn every time we talk about this. This is absolutely foolish that the commissioners are continuing to waste our time and our county resources on this matter. And I think that's wrong, and I think it shouldn't be allowed.
Do you have a copy of the 28th minutes?
Representative Ticehurst.
Yeah, do you have a copy?
I'm looking.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yes, Representative Ticehurst.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I assume that this is another time when a representative is presenting his own personal opinion and not the opinion of the full delegation. I will just remind us that the commissioners did make an arrangement whereby the county would benefit from this. I have questions about using county resources for private business also, but I also understand that there are plenty of good reasons to have well-thought-out partnerships between the county and private businesses.
And that's why I'm asking for a business plan as so that such
And I support that.
actions could take place.
I support that and actually facilitated that process for you.
Thank you. Representative Crawford.
I'd like to see in the business plan, if the pigs are to stay, how much poundage or how many pigs that Will gives to the county home? 2 a year?
2 sows.
2 sows, that means they're big,
Big
right?
ones, not the little ones.
Not the little ones.
That was the original agreement.
That was the original, okay, I just wanted clarification, so that I would think would be in the business plan also. I don't know what 2 pigs cost, as far as meat goes.
Could I answer the question also?
You certainly may.
Thank you, and I just want to, my understanding, having heard this as subcommittee for a number of years, that was the plan to turn over 2 pigs, not knowing the gender from my position. But that's been the plan since year 1, and I believe we're entering year 2 or year 3 of the pigs. And if 2 pigs are going to be turned over, is it the end of a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan? No pigs have been turned over at this point.
Okay.
I
Have
have
we-
a comment.
I don't see anything specifically.
Hello, can I speak on the pig?
Certainly. Everyone can speak on the
Okay.
pigs. I've got 5 minutes before I'm making a decision about the pigs. Oh, no, on.
The delegation did make a recommendation. That's all we did. We allowed Will to have the pigs there. There are no county dollars involved, and he's giving workshops. I believe school children came to look at the pigs. I believe Farm Day, they're showing the pigs there around. And I just want to remind the delegation that the commissioners has custody of all county property. I think it is inappropriate to take a vote and even make a motion and tell the board what to do, what we cannot have here on county property. We allowed Will to do it. I don't know what plan the delegation is looking for. We made an arrangement with Will. No county tax dollars involved.
Thank you very much. Representative Nelson has.
I guess that means I can come down and raise chickens.
Sure.
If we make an arrangement with you, yes.
Representative Nelson has a question.
And if you have
Okay.
education.
Let us,
Representative Nelson.
let Representative Nelson speak, and then we'll stop our discussion with the pigs and ask for a development or the progress on the business plan, so that if other private entities wish to enter into agreements, that can occur. If the farm portion of Public Works can return whatever, then we'll press on. Yes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, they are, maybe we're not spending up front, they do use the property that we have.
And they pay rent, right?
But I do know that as part of the committee, we did take a tour of the farm. It was very specifically told to us, no pigs. So I felt misled as a member of a committee when we took a tour. It was very clearly, oh no, I'm not going to raise pigs. So.
I didn't go on the tour, but
Representative Merrill had the same recollection, I had the same recollection, just to follow up.
Excuse me, is the meeting that you're referring to the one that we had before we voted on the budget? And before we made the decision on whether or not we would allow pigs?
If I could, I believe Representative Nelson is referring to the tour that we took prior to the delegation meeting that you were present at as Marrow, Nelson, myself, and I believe Representative Butler.
okay, enough on the pigs. I won't argue that the commissioners have every right to operate the county as they choose. However, I also recognize that the delegation has the authority of the budget. So, we are maybe, so, Representative Albert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just make it quick because I was here when we had the initial discussions about the pigs, and you know, for the record, I was strongly opposed to raising livestock on the farm, as you might recall, to help maybe refresh your memories. But you know, full disclosure, that I felt it really wasn't the best idea to bring livestock on the farm and start raising livestock. However, these are my memories of that meeting. The meeting was that we appropriated an amount of money to renovate the barn. For some reason, I thought it was around $6,000. And that also, we appropriated money for feed for the pigs at that meeting. And that
And the building is not where the pigs are, it's a pole barn. Wood.
Okay, well, once again, you may not, this meeting took place like 3 years ago. This is way before there were any pigs on site. This is when Betsy Patton was the chair, okay? That's when the meeting I'm talking about. It's back there, okay? It's not anything recent. It's not anything within this delegation who was most recently elected's memory. This is in my memory because I've been here for almost 10 years. In that, what we struck with the commissioners was that we would provide that money to renovate the area necessary and provide the feed, and that the commissioners would get the pigs to be donated. And Representative Patton, as my understanding, was actually one of the people who donated one of the pigs, okay? And that it was be a cooperative, in that cooperation, that the raising of the pigs would begin on the farm. It was my full understanding that it was becoming part of the farming operation, so therefore the revenues generated from the sale of the pigs would be going into the farm's revenues. And it would be operated as part of the farm. But those are my sincere, and I believe, pretty accurate recollections of what happened that day when we talked about the initialization of this pig program. So I'm sure it's in the minutes. We have to find the meeting to establish that. But I can assure you that in meetings past, that it has usually come to fruition, that when I say I have a very strong recollection, that is indeed what occurred. So I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. All right. The next item on the agenda is the IT progress.
Well, the chair of the IT committee is not here.
She was here earlier.
Right.
We should
I
have
have,
the water.
I have
That
the,
would, yeah, that,
Have the HR
yeah, Ann,
person.
would you check and see if she's, go ahead.
okay. I attended the April meeting, and we have another meeting coming up in a few weeks. A few things I'll just mention. We did discuss and go over changes to the budget that we had discussed as a delegation for next year in terms of grouping IT as its own separate department, so to speak, so we can get a better handle on the IT costs. At our next meeting, we are going to go over policies. Each department is to bring their IT policies to the meeting, and we'll go over any existing county policies, and I think that will be beneficial because they can then be presented to Matrix for part of the performance audit review of existing policies in the county and where there might be holes in our policy structure. There is going to be a work plan put in place to arrive at costs for consideration by the delegation next year of implementing a fiber optic network between buildings that will save us, I believe, in communication costs, both phone, digital, computer, internet access, which is pretty independent right now. It'll allow us to centralize email services, so that I think there is potential benefit. And so the idea was that we would try and develop some costs for input to the budget process for next year for consideration by the delegation to moving forward with that project. There was also discussion, we had realized as part of the budget process that there are 3 separate contracts with the same firm for copier maintenance contracts, and that the IT committee was going to bring that to the attention of the commissioners so that we could possibly look to consolidate contracts and arrive at some costs in that regard, cost savings in that regard, and I hope that that was done. Maybe the commissioners could confirm that they are looking at.
Yeah.
Okay, great. When I first started here 2 years, or almost 2 years ago, I had heard about a 5-year plan for information technology by the county, and had heard several reassurances that we would get that. I still have not gotten it, so I can only assume that there is and never was any plan put in place for IT services for the county.
Am I to assume that one is in the works?
I don't even know that that's the case.
The IT committee chairman.
Oh, great.
Is shaking her head yes, so.
Thank you, Representative Cordelli, and yes, thank you for giving that report, and all accurate. Yes, we've asked our IT contractor to bring with him at the next meeting the plan, what has been done, and what the plan is for the next upcoming years. And knowing that the contract the RFP needs to be prepared also, we'll be looking at that as part of the committee. And one other follow-up is that, not sure if I didn't catch the whole thing, Representative Cordelli, but we have the person from Lakes Region Community College who will be at our next meeting to present and to help us with any other ways that we can move forward with the training piece. So thank you for giving that very full report.
If I could just add one more piece. We had discussion about the Kronos time management system, and it is my understanding, and perhaps there could be an update if there is new information, but everything has been worked out so that Kronos information, capturing of time reporting is now automatically flowing into the payroll system to eliminate manual entry of that information, so that the process is going forward now on a strictly automated basis.
Could I? So Cordelia, do you have any idea how, is that Kronos program that we bought last year and put into
It
place?
was several, it's been ongoing for something like 3.5 years.
3.5 years and it's up and running. Okay,
That's
thank
my
you.
understanding.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, one of the things that we needed to do is to look at the first quarter expenses and revenue and expenditures. Kathy sent each of you this information on email. I trust that we've had an opportunity to look at it. Are there any comments? Yes, Representative Cordell.
I would just first like to ask the commissioners if they had any concerns or thoughts on the first quarter numbers.
Madam Chairman, if I can answer that.
Yes, you may.
There are two areas that we over budget. One is advertising, and the other one is legal expenses. Legal expenses is on page 2. Under legal fees, under special fees and services. And it may go higher than that.
However, the commissioner's bottom line for the quarter is only at 22%. So,
well,
although you may have a specific item that you're concerned about, you are measuring, you are, in line with where you need. Now, that may change
right,
in the next quarter.
that's advertising, but if you look on page 2, under special fees and services.
Oh, okay.
4102.
Okay, I was in the wrong
Page
place.
Special fees and services.
Page 2.
67.
Yeah, you're at
We
67.
had budgeted 15,000 and we've spent 18,648. And we still have legal fees to pay. We don't have the final in yet.
So it
That's about all
appears
I
you'll
can
be
say.
asking the delegation for authority to move money out from other places?
We will probably have to do that,
Let me know.
okay?
Gotta pay our legal bills. We don't wanna be,
We'll pay the bills and we'll have to go back to you for permission to move it from another department to that item.
Representative Cordell?
If I could just follow up on those legal fees, I would just wanted to make sure that that was not, any overages were not included in the 91A issue where the delegation had set amount to be used from public funds for support of the commissioners in that regard, and I think that amount was $2,100. So I wanted to make sure that none of this additional expense in the first quarter was related to that.
It's not. However, the county is being sued, so a portion of that is the county dollars. Legal fees for the county.
Okay.
As you recall, we're being sued by the county, against the county, and then individually as well. Individually is not in there, the county is. And the county is not through yet. Nor are we.
Are there any other comments on the budget?
Are we going to go over income?
Well, I would just expenditures first.
Okay, thank you.
If you go to page 19, I think, it actually, that's probably not the right page. Maybe it is. If you go to page 12, excuse me, for the quarter, the general fund is at 20%. And the nursing home on page 18 is at 21%. So we have held our expenses down for the first quarter. So, but I am, yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to ask about corrections, and I'm trying to find the page number, but corrections overtime was at 41% of the...
Page 8.
Page 8, thank you. Budgeted amount, and just if the commissioners had any ideas on where that
page?
might be headed.
Page 9.
9.
9?
Starts on 8, but the figures are on page 9.
Right, at the top of page 9.
It's on 10. Finals on 10.
You look at the,
Right, I was looking at the overtime line in particular, which is on the top, line 005 under 6100.
Okay. You want to answer that question?
Yeah, we've had more than expected people out on FMLA, Representative Fidelli. We've had 3 or 4 people that we've terminated. We've had 2 or 3 retirements, one retirement. And that's it. I guess that's it.
so your
We're
regular...
headed back towards a full complement of employees.
If I could follow up with that, I find that interesting, since your salary percentages, which is line 9, is at 26%. So if you are getting rid of people and having to fill in on overtime, then this number should have been below 25%. One would expect, unless all of this has occurred in the second quarter.
Well, I think as a matter of fact, Representative, it has.
Okay, so that
But it is
doesn't,
an interesting question, and I'll get you the answer.
but I mean, that doesn't explain
Why we're up 26%.
why your overtime is so high.
Right.
Other than if you had...
Well, the terminations were in both quarters. The FMLA was...
Family medical leave we have to pay anyway, so it counts for the 26.
When someone is on family medical leave, they receive full salary, is that correct?
They use up their...
Up to their benefits.
They use up their sick days and they use up their vacation first. And then they're on their own.
Okay, so
But we
that,
still have to fill in for it.
that should have reduced salary then,
Not necessarily.
because you're paying that under something else, right?
No, if you're paying them sick days and you're paying them vacation days, that's cash. And then on top of that, we have to pay overtime for the person to come in and fill in for them.
That's in the salary line. Okay. All right. Well, all I'm saying is that I think it would be helpful if you
I'll get you the information.
send something out to the delegation or send it to me and I'll forward it to everybody so that we can take a look at that. I mean, I realize that, the other things in there that overall, they're doing okay. So, you want to go to expenditures?
No,
All
I
right,
have
next.
a question on corrections, if I could.
Oh, sure.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. For the commissioners, my understanding is that the superintendent has decided to realign or to give new positions or elevated positions, and I apologize not being a military person, captain, lieutenants, whatever we're doing. Is that a raise in title only? Is that a change in their salary position? If it's a change in their salary position, did the commissioners make that choice, or is the delegation going to be advised of that? Could you please tell me where we are with that?
We will make that decision as to any raises that are given. At the present time, there's no increase in money or salaries for those people that he promoted to the next higher level.
Thank you. And if there was to be a raise in salary, that would come through your office and wouldn't be made by any
That's
head of
correct.
any department. Thank you.
How can you change?
My
How
understand.
can you promote someone to a new job with more responsibility? I mean, and tell them they can't get a raise, unlike Human Services that had a new job description, a new thing, they had to get a raise. So, I just don't understand how that occurs.
Don't these jobs have automatic salaries fixed for each captain or lieutenant? I mean, usually, you know, in the military, as you go up the thing, each one has it.
Nope,
It's
I mean-
automatic. I don't understand it either. I don't.
That's okay.
He did it. That's what he told us.
Well, if I could follow up, is there a discussion with department heads with what's happening with personnel in their department? Do you feel that's in the interest of the commissioners to be involved in that? Or is it not? Is it not something the commissioners should be involved in?
He told us that he was gonna do it, and he told us he was not gonna raise, money was in the budget to do it, he wasn't gonna raise wages.
If I could follow up one more time, did the commissioners learn of that position title change any earlier than I did in the wonderful presentation that I was at?
I'll try to answer that again. Yes, we did. We knew ahead of time, and he told us he was not gonna increase the wages. Now, am I gonna go over and call him a liar and find out? No, I'm not gonna do that.
If I could, I wasn't
I was
asking
told-
that.
We were told that he was going to do it. He came and told us he was gonna do it, asked our opinion, and we said, we asked him that question, and he said he was not gonna raise the wages.
Thank you, Commissioner, but I believe you said you were told that it was, and I heard from the head of the commissioners that he did not know that.
No, I meant you, meaning us. We were separated. He came to our office, we were there.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, let's just make sure of this, if I could. If you said he was not, wait, let me make sure I phrase this correctly. You said that he could handle the wages within what was in the budget. So, that doesn't say there's no increase.
He hasn't come to us regarding that yet. All he said was he was going to promote these people, and they were not going to receive any additional funds.
Okay.
Some promotion. That's my understanding. They told me.
If I could, Representative Cordelli.
Just one follow-up question, if I could. This conversation took place in your office, as I understand it? It was not done in a public session of the commissioners? So that there has been no public discussion or public disclosure about these promotions and any salary implications? I think, in my mind, that's a problem in itself.
That's one of those things that the commissioners need to answer for to the public, okay? Just Sheriff, you had a comment?
My thought may be that they're not new positions, maybe. They were vacant positions. And he's done in-house promotions, is what I'm assuming. So the wage line, the salary lines would not have changed. The money would have been there, the people left, he just filled them with new people. He can do that in-house, I'm assuming, as we can per the contract, so.
So they did get us, in your
Those
estimation.
specific people may have got a raise, yes, is what I'm assuming, because they are entitled to it usually, so. But
Okay.
it all can be done in-house without the public.
There's no increase.
I'm assuming no increase in the salary line is what he meant.
That's what I would have said. But anyhow, yes, Commissioner Kenny.
Yes, I believe in the last meeting, I asked about it because he said it was a rearrangement of titles because suddenly he calls the second in charge major, and I thought he was captain when he was hired. But he mentioned that he had this in the past, and he rearranged it again like it was in the past.
Okay. Representative McConkey.
Yeah, I just want to say, I am not saying anything derogatory whatsoever about the superintendent or his staff. My question was that I was at the wonderful meeting that they had and presented awards. I heard that a number of people were promoted in title.
Right.
And my question to the commissioners were you fully aware that people's titles were being upgraded, in that there was no salary increase, and that you had that knowledge before? Because it would seem to me that that would be a discussion that would always happen with the commissioners before a department head would go around reassigning titles.
That's right.
And you're assuring me that's been done, and that was my question.
Yep.
There was no reference made to anything done incorrectly or anything not being done properly by that department. That was my question.
Okay, thank you. Representative Tysers?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say I think this is just one example of the many, many times that our county employees go above and beyond and do not get any additional compensation for it, and I think we should be thanking them. And I'd also like to point out that this is a great example of something that could well be studied by the Salary and Compensation and Benefits Committee.
Representative McConkey, you had a question on revenue?
Yes, if we're there. On my understanding of listening to the account of this last week's commissioners meeting, that you have had a number of sales of surplus items. And number one, it's not showing up in the report that was generated on 5/13, or perhaps you could show me where that income is showing up. And
This is the first quarter, so it would show up next quarter.
okay. But and when those items come forward, will they show up as where will they show up? Will they show up as
income to the farm?
Okay, and I guess just a procedural question, and perhaps the commissioners could tell me if I'm incorrect on the motion that was made by this delegation, in that department's account number 7,000, I believe, was going to become agricultural, and 7093 was going to become public works.
That's effective with the next budget.
So it'll show in the next budget? Okay, thank you.
Yep. When we get the budget for next year,
Thank you.
it will be there. Okay. Representative Cordelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to ask,
Are we
the
back on, are we
revenue?
still? Mhm.
Yep. The Registry of Deeds income was 16%, slightly lower than one would expect. And I was just wondering if the registrar could kindly offer an opinion if that was consistent with normal first quarters, or if it was something other than that.
I am seriously feeling somewhat threatened by the amount of reporting that we've had in the first 3 months. We've recorded 1,400 less documents from last year. Whether this had to do with our weather, I don't know, that people couldn't get out and visualize their property. I can't, I have no real explanation for it, except that real estate transfer tax wasn't suffering, it's the recording fees that are suffering. Because you get a large sale on the way, it's gonna offset a lot of small sales. So the real estate transfer tax actually was better than last year, by a small amount, but recording fees are way down. And that may also be due to the fact that the mortgage rates have gone up, so the siege of refinancing that went on when the interest rates went down to under 4% has passed. I'm hoping the foreclosures also will have passed. It's a sad side of this job that you see when you see those things go on. But I was definitely concerned, and I frankly was pretty shocked that it was to that degree of 1,400 documents out of, normally we're around 16,000 for the year. So it's pretty significant.
Thank you.
I talked with one of the researchers the other day, and he was out of work for 2 months because there was no work for him to do in the registry of deeds.
Okay. Did you have a comment, question?
Please, on revenue relative to the nursing home, if Administrator Chandler could just comment on the revenue for the first quarter.
I have good news for you on that. The revenue, while there are 7 accounts that were billed but not received, so that the lack of revenue is temporary, that'll be picked up, and that'll be a total of $429,500 that was billed but not received in the first quarter. That should have been because of a timing issue. With that, accounting for that, that leaves us net to budget ahead by $69,799, favorable to budget revenue and expenses combined.
Excellent, thank you.
So next month you'll show a significant.
A very significant positive change.
All right. Any comments, any further? I would just like to say to all of the county departments that you are well within the expenditure side overall. Revenue, as has been stated, is down just a little bit, but hopefully that will pick up, and we'll see what happens after the end of June.
Madam Chairman, I met with Representative Ticehurst here a week ago. We're going to try to reform the budget sheets that come out to you so that the last column over on the right will give you some example as to where those expenses were made. For example, under special fees and services, we'll have a list of items that are included in that. It would make it easier for you and for us to understand the budget and where the money is being spent. Hopefully that will help clarify some of the confusion that we have whenever we talk about budgets as to what this was for, what was that for, and so on.
Perhaps you could send out a draft of what that will look like.
Okay.
So that, to the delegation members, so that, there may be things that we want to add. Don't know. Yeah, just Representative Ticehurst.
We can certainly do that, but it's fairly simple. It's just one additional column.
Understand. Just so that, make sure that we all know what, and I appreciate that. Representative Algren.
Thank you. Well, yeah, since we're on that subject of making them easier to read, I think it would be helpful that if we had last year's first quarter expenditures and the percentage there as well, because many expenditures are cyclical and significant. It really wasn't brought up today, but a huge portion of the budget hasn't been spent, which impacts the amount of this expenditure. We're looking at the bottom line, and it's around whatever 20%, but there's millions of dollars that haven't been spent at all in the first quarter because they just haven't come due, like on the bonds.
Right.
So to be able to see that comparatively year to year, I think would be a very good indicator of where we are during the course of the year.
You want us to cut down more trees?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a suggestion that would make it more helpful. It may not be possible with the number of trees that we have available.
Actually, trees are a renewable resource, and that's why we burn wood chips and logs and any number of other things, so.
Yeah, but Madam Chairman, it costs us money to use our photocopier.
I know.
For the ink and so forth, so
Right.
it's not just trees.
Except that,
The encumbered column seems to be extra.
yeah, we could look at any number of things.
Perhaps you could remove the
And
encumbered column. It
I would
doesn't seem to
just,
have a
and
lot of
that's,
use.
and all I'm suggesting is that I think that's not a bad idea, and see if Kathy can work it out.
Oh, yeah.
Send it out to us, and we'll take a look at it. Is this on the same subject?
Yes.
Okay.
Could we have a consensus, Madam Chairman, if we had to drop a column or two out, which ones? We can go to a legal size on our machine, but after that, we're out of space.
Yeah,
Do you have a preference which we could take out?
month to date. Month to date.
Month to date?
Where are you? Encumbered probably doesn't need to be there.
I know, we're gonna get it, right?
You know, it appears there's quite a bit of room in there. If all we, and basically all we need is just the percentage, right?
Technically, last year's percent would probably be the number you'd be looking at, because the budget changed from year to year. So the number may not be as important as the percent to be able to compare it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, we could take on encumbered.
Is,
Yeah, makes no sense there.
just a second.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is this on the
Yes,
same issue?
I would also suggest for myself, a month to date, since this is a quarterly report, month to date is not as useful for me as prior year information. That would be another possible column, and maybe it's for the IT committee, but it would be helpful for me if these reports could be generated electronically in an Excel spreadsheet. I know that that is a problem with our current, I understand it is a problem with our current version of our financial software. Perhaps there's an upgrade or something else that would make that possible.
If they have the money, they can spend it. If they don't, they don't. Dan?
I just had a suggestion. When we do the year end, you get what last year's what and how much it was spent, and then what's projected for this year. It would be nice, because I did a lot of figuring comparing my first quarter, by having to go back through all my separate sheets and adding them up. So my suggestion, and if it's possible, and I've talked to Kathy, is that when you have it, have 2013 first quarter and just have the amounts there. And it will give you an idea if we're spending more or less.
Yeah.
with
For,
the new
you know,
column.
as, I think for us,
Is that what you-
whoever made the comment that probably the percentages make more sense, but for activities within the county,
Right.
then the actual dollars may make more sense. And just, you know, let Kathy, I mean, as I understand it, you can program your reports to look any way you want.
I hope so.
And so,
Been doing it for years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Representative Lavender.
I would get rid of the pennies in the decimal point.
Yep, that would work too.
It gives you a lot of space.
Yep.
Round it up or down?
I don't care which way you round it, it doesn't matter. Okay, all right, good thoughts. Representative Cordelli had, before we do that,
Delegation, convention.
okay, well, Representative Cordelli we may need to approve, so you'll be quick.
I'll be quick. First, I think we are all concerned about roads in Carroll County. Looking at the 10-year plan that evidently is going to be approved this year by the state, there's very little for us in that 10-year plan. Evidently, the process seems to work up through the regional planning commissions, and they do a plan that is input then to the Department of Transportation for updates to the 10-year plan, which is done every 2 years. Looking at the Lakes Region, Regional Planning Commission, they have a Transportation Advisory Committee that seems to be the most directly involved part of the Planning Commission. And each member town may appoint a voting member to this Transportation Advisory Committee. In addition, however, there may be non-voting members appointed, and that includes Carroll County Delegation may appoint a non-voting member to the Lakes Region Planning Commission Transportation Advisory Committee. And I would like to ask for your consideration in being appointed as the Carroll County Delegation to this committee, because I would like to raise a little bit stronger voice and get more people involved in input into the regional transportation planning report, and so that we could maybe have some more say when it gets to DOT level.
So moved this morning.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Do we have a non-voting member now?
No.
No.
I don't believe you do.
If we do, someone stand up.
Let me point out,
Well,
this
it
is
just might not be one of us, it may be just somebody that we appointed.
No, this is specifically, there's 15 non-voting members that can be appointed, one of which is the Carroll County Legislative Delegation.
That we appoint or are members of?
I have been,
It says specifically in here, the following may appoint a non-voting member.
to the best of my knowledge anyhow, anybody that's been here longer than I have we ever appointed anyone to this?
No.
So I think that it's free and open.
Okay.
And do I have two people that want to volunteer? Oh, yes, Bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, we're in an interesting position down in Wakefield and Brookfield.
Right.
Because we're part of Stratford County
Right.
Yes,
Regional Planning,
right.
so that's a whole different,
Right.
so half of me is one place and half of me is
Right,
the other.
and we have the same.
Right, this is just for the Lakes Region
Right.
Planning
And we have a
Commission.
lot of road building going on.
But the same thing is that we're in Northern Carroll,
North Country.
North Country, whatever it is.
North Country Council.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
I just wanted to say that I represent Brookfield on that TAC committee. So
Okay.
I'm part of the Stratford Regional Planning Commission.
Okay.
You're discussing the Lakes Regional Planning Commission.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, at least we know somebody.
Yes.
So, all those in favor
Could we
of,
have just one more discussion point?
oh, sure.
Okay, thank you. Just for clarification, and I really appreciate that you brought this to our attention and that you're willing to serve, and I think you'd be a great member. But I just want to know if you're in support of the overall mission of the Lakes Region Planning Commission.
I am in support of the overall mission of the Transportation Advisory Committee, to which I would be a member.
I see, but not the commission, I take it?
I think that's a whole separate question.
Okay. All those in favor of appointing Representative Cordelli to the Lakes Region Transportation
Advisory Committee.
Committee as a non-voting member? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Please signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. One opposed. Okay, second issue?
Second issue. Under RSA 24, county conventions, the county convention may adopt a policy regarding acceptance of grants. If you have it, there's copies up on the front table. I have drafted a grant acceptance and approval policy. I think it would be to our advantage, representing the citizens of Carroll County, to have a process by which the delegation can review grants that would be possibly accepted by the county. Two real reasons. Strings and obligations. So many grants that we talked about possibility of grants received by this new veterans home and possible requirements that might be attached to that grant. I think it would be to our advantage to have a procedure and policy whereby we could review grants and approve of grants so that we are aware of the obligations that those grants might affect to the county. So I have provided an application and approval policy form that lays out a procedure including both a delegation approval of grant application submissions, but then also procedure for approval of the grant acceptance when it comes back, if a grant award is to be made. And then following that is the approval of a grant application form that would be submitted by the department head. And then if the grant is awarded, likewise a form that would be resubmitted to the delegation or a subcommittee thereof for approval. And I think important points here are in the grant application form. I think it's important to know whether funding of this grant involves new positions or funding of any current positions, because there certainly is a possible future obligation on the part of the county if a grant is funding a position, because we all know when that grant expires, we're left hanging with that position. So I think that's important to know right up front. Any equipment needs, anything else, and is this a matching grant? Is there grant funds available, but they have to be matched by county funds? That's also included in here, as well as any indirect costs that would be borne by the county in possible acceptance of this grant. The only other thing that might be considered by the delegation, or possibly it should be prior to going to the delegation, and that would be some public review and public comment period for grants that would be accepted by the county. But that, in a nutshell, is my proposal and the reasons for it.
I would like to ask the delegation to provide, and I don't care, people, to provide feedback to all of us on what your thoughts are on this. And we're not going to decide today on this. I think we need some time to think about it, but I do appreciate Representative Cordelli putting together some information and something for us to look at and inspire conversation. So,
Will he be emailing that draft to us? I certainly can do that, yes.
I think that would be good. I know you left some copies down here
Yeah,
already.
oh, you did, oh, yeah.
But-
I'll email them as well.
But I think it would be a good thing. Is that so that we can all take a look at it? Commissioner Summers?
Madam Chairman, at the present time, the policy that the delegation came up with was to give that to the commissioners to accept any and all grants. Whenever there's a matching grant, it always has to be in the budget, and everybody sees the budget. So whether you want to go through this process is up to you.
So, does that mean that you have a policy that you could send out to us?
We don't have a policy, but we talked about it at our last meeting, whereby a committee will be formed to review grants. Our cameraman is one of those members that's on the committee, along with Melissa. Two so far.
So maybe you could provide us a framework of what you think this committee would be, so that we can take a look at it. Representative Babson is next, or sorry, Commissioner Babson is next.
Thank you.
Since
Is
he
there a
just got-
chance we could get this electronically, so if we
I'll mail
want
you
to
a
make
copy
a
as well.
correction, we can?
Yep.
Thank you. Or make a suggestion.
Representative Alden,
Thank you, I was just,
stretching your arm.
no, but what was posed there brought to light something to me that was interesting, that monies we're expending on grants aren't within the budget, and that part, and I'm
Matching.
hoping that's not what we're talking about, that there's some sort of secondary budget that we have, that, you know, because you said if you're getting money in, and that money you're using, and an officer's doing something, and you're paying that officer, so I want to make sure that all the grant money that you're expending is included in the budget.
That is very true for the victim witness. She receives $25,000 from the state to do her work, and it's earmarked in certain categories as to what she can spend it on. The sheriff, you may want to comment on any of the grants that you get.
Anything that we get, it's really spelled out in the grants as far as if it's a half grant matching funds, and that is included in our budget. So everything we do is included in our budget. This I see as a complete duplication of what is already done through the commissioners, through the public meetings, as far as we present it to the commission before it's actually signed off and funded. And most of those grants have time constraints, so this would just basically interfere with those time constraints and possibly lose a chance of funding.
As we said, I would appreciate feedback from the commissioners and whoever else wants to provide feedback. Representative Tyson.
Thank you. I was just wondering, I caught that it was RSA 24, but I didn't catch the section.
14.
Thank you.
Representative Nelson.
Thank you. I think the beauty of this is the fact that, I use police, you always read these things where you got a police officer for 3 years totally funded, and then all of a sudden you have
We
to
don't-
hire that police.
We don't accept those.
Okay,
That's your resource.
I would like a motion to...
Move into convention?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Let's try it.
Move to adjourn?
Sorry, no. Is anyone interested in serving on this County Employee Compensation Committee?
Has there been a committee actually formed?
No, but if we don't have anybody that wants to sit on it, then I won't form a committee. But if I
Is this,
have-
so if I could ask a question, is this a delegation committee?
Yes.
I would be happy to serve on it.
So we have Representative McConkey, Ticehurst, Lavender, and Cordelli. Okay. And I will let the four of you, I will ask Representative Ticehurst to call the first meeting, and at that point, you can elect a chairman. And I would think that your report would need to be back to us prior to 15 October. And the reason that I say 15 October, I think everyone is aware that we have elections in November. And following the election, we will have a lot of stuff to do, and I will probably ask that we get some kind of general update, around the 15th of September-ish, okay, with the final report. Because even though it's an election year and, everybody may change, the commissioners do work on their budget long before November. And we need to provide them some guidance that they can either accept or reject, obviously. And the next group can either accept it or reject it, but at least it gives them how this delegation feels. Yes?
Thank you. So the four members were appointed, the members will form a chairman and so forth, but it is a delegation committee, because in the beginning I heard conversation of including this person, that person, other people outside the delegation. Is it the intent of this formation that is a delegation committee?
The intent is that it's a delegation committee.
Thank you.
And obviously, like all meetings, they're open to anyone that chooses to attend.
But the final outcome, the final product of this is a delegation.
Right.
Thank you.
And obviously, that would be, a recommendation to the commissioners for their budget season. This is, and not to mention whatever else, like labor negotiations or, anything like that. I don't think that this committee is to establish salaries. I don't mean that, but it is to look at, all of that kind of stuff. What is the salary? Is it benefits? Is it any number of other things?
Just a comment, sorry to interrupt, but we start making our budgets, at least I do, well before that time period.
I understand, Dan.
Okay.
That's why,
I mean, we really have them to the
I need-
commissioners at the beginning of October.
right. But the commissioners, that's why I set the 15th as the final, and looking for September as an interim
Thank you.
sort of thing, so. Yes, Commissioner.
Just to bring you up to date, we still have two unions that have not negotiated. One is changing their union to a different union, so that's in the works. The other one is very close to agreeing with the terms, and that's all I can tell you right now.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question? Okay, could I have a motion to go in?
Well, is it outside the box, or are we still talking about budget?
Go ahead.
Okay. I still have an ongoing concern about coverage from Primex on the 91A issue, and I didn't know, I know Representative Butler left, if anything has been discussed about that for public officials, or if there's any closure to any type of coverage from Primex on the 91A issue.
Primex will not cover 91As.
It was my understanding, and this could be wrong, but I thought that Representative Butler had said they would put something together for the future, and then you could make a decision as to whether or not you wanted to fund that, and that would be for all Crimex organizations.
So was it Representatives Butler's charge to look into that, or was it the commissioners?
No,
Just-
Representative Butler just indicated that he would talk to Primex, and that's my understanding of what came out of it. And so I assume that Primex, if they think it's a profitable business adventure, whatever that word is, venture, then they will pursue it. But you might send Representative
I'll do that.
Butler an email and see if his recollection of the conversation was the same as mine.
Thank you.
Could I have a
Move
motion?
to go into convention.
Second.
Okay, I have 2 motions. Do we have more than that have to be approved?
Minutes, pay raise, and appointment of Cordell.
Yeah, 3.
Okay.
Okay. You gonna move the minutes?
Move the minutes as distributed for March 28th.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I would look for, I don't have the formal language of the pay raise.
Okay. The pay raise, if I'm, I'll at least paraphrase it, and then Michelle can get it in there correctly, okay? Which was to provide $832 a year raise for our elected officials, excluding the Registrar of Deeds, which would receive a $5,000 salary increase.
Second.
Okay. Does anyone has a different understanding? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait a second.
Count them up.
This cannot occur.
There's 11 balls.
2 left.
Okay,
11.
please raise your hands if you are in favor. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you.
I went into convention and it
You
changed.
guys can't do this to me. Oh, I guess
I told
Oh,
Rep-
yes, you can.
Yes, we can, that's the
Then you would
procedure.
have, then you would have been here for another 3 hours. No?
I told Representative Butler to take someone else.
Okay. All
They
right,
took Gene.
next.
Final motion is to appoint Representative Cordelli as a non-voting member to the Lakes Region Planning Commission Transportation Advisory Council Committee, Council, I believe.
Okay.
TAC.
Second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 1. Okay,
Move to, if no other business, move to come out of convention.
second. Okay, Representative Merrill seconds. All those in favor? Aye.
Any public input?
Is there any public input? Yes.
Your vote on the raises, prior to going into convention, I believe the motion was $832 for 2 years.
That's correct.
But what you just stated when you were in convention was $832 per year.
And I said that Michelle
Okay, all
will
right.
make sure that it's exactly the way that it passed in.
But it is for 2 years.
It's for 2 years.
It's one time for 2 years.
Okay, each, okay. The salary for the commissioners, for example, okay?
The
Right,
annual
The
salary.
annual salary,
Annual.
okay, for commissioners is going up to, well,
$832.
let me use something because that's math beyond my control. we said that the Register of Deeds would receive $50,000. And that's $50,000 for 2015 and $50,000 for 2016. So that's what the salary. For the commissioners, it goes up to $2,332
Per year, it goes up $832 per year.
per year.
All right, and I had another question for the IT committee. Is it my understanding what was stated was that the current IT contractor is helping write the RFP? And if so, would that exclude him from bidding on the RFP on a conflict?
Go ahead.
That was not stated, it was just that that's a part of what the committee is doing. And he is an invited guest, he is not a part of the committee.
So I think what she's saying is that, no, he is not writing the RFP. Representative Nelson?
Thank you. Just for clarification purposes, the other folks, other than the Registry of Deeds, will get the $800,000. $832.
Because our budget.
The same amount, it's not going to change over the
2-year period.
two-year period. So what they get will last 2 years.
Yes. So
Same
if they're getting,
the same.
It's an annual salary.
it's an annual salary
For a 2-year term.
for 2 years.
Because they run for 2 years.
Yes.
That's the same raise that everybody got across the county. They will get it each year, only if it's been approved each year in the budget.
No.
The only salaries you're setting for 2 years of elected officials.
That's correct.
Is that
Yes.
right? When he said the other members of the
Oh,
registry
no,
of deeds,
it's,
I wanted to
no,
clarify.
it's the only, just a minute. The salaries that we've set are only for the elected officials, so that when they go forth to run, they will know that the salary for that position is whatever it is. And I will have Michelle make sure that she puts that, what the actual figures are in the minutes, so that it is available to everyone. And it can be an attachment, I don't care how you do it, but. Okay, Melissa.
I know you're all watching the clock, so I appreciate you waiting for just a second so I could give some public comment. And we don't get to see your smiley faces very often. So. I have a couple of things. I actually wanted to listen to something really briefly on the laptop, but I'll go through the other two things first. I wanted to say thank you for forming the committee to explore salary benefits and do comparisons. Is something they've been asking for quite a while, so it's nice that the delegation has formed that committee. I do think it's unfortunate, however, that the delegation did not agree with Representative Ticehurst and appoint other members beyond the delegation to serve on that. I think they could have offered a much-needed perspective into the process.
I hope you will attend those meetings, Melissa.
I like to talk.
Well, you can, I am positive that whoever.
Or share salary
I would-
surveys, which I see that were made useful, so yeah.
I would say that whoever is chairman probably will allow you to talk.
Okay.
If they don't, let me know.
Okay. Secondly was about the ranking structure at the House of Corrections. And I just wanted to share with you some public perception on the last meeting, last commissioners meeting. It was presented that some people had been promoted and that the ranking structure had been, it's a new ranking structure that was put in place after the budget session had ended. Therefore creating or renewing the old position of a major, which had been taken away. So it's a complete change to the rank structure. When it was presented at the commissioners meeting, part of it on the tape was the superintendent was asked if that meant there would be increases in salary for those people, and the superintendent responded, "Not yet." So the perception that has been shared with me by a couple of people, and I'm starting to gain that perception myself, is that if you give only 40 cents to people, then the way to get around that is to create a new structure, and then you pay them more. And while that might be appropriate for the House of Corrections, that opportunity doesn't exist in other departments, such as the Registry of Deeds. The registrar doesn't have a way to promote and rank their people to give them the money that they might feel that those people deserve. And I don't think any of the other departments, other than the Sheriff's Department, have a ranking structure in the House of Corrections. So I just wanted to share that perception that also at the nursing home, those non-union people, there's no way to make them, I don't know, major in charge of paper towel. I don't know. There's no way to move people like that or create new spots. So, did you?
Okay, thank you.
Could I ask a question?
Certainly.
If my listening was of that tape, and that was brought up, and Jason was a bit guarded at the time and said not at this time, it was my understanding that there was a executive, there was further discussion that happened later, and the inference was that there may indeed be increases coming up for those positions.
I don't know, and I can't speculate based just on what was said at the meeting.
It was my understanding that the commissioners were going to go into executive session later, and that was that was the inference I got from that discussion.
And not being privy to that, other than we're recessing into non-public for personnel. We never know exactly what that personnel
Okay.
discussion
Thank you.
relates to, so
Yeah.
I know as much, you know,
Well,
and it,
yeah.
so.
So anyhow, in relationship to that, okay, as you know, we increase the number of corrections people in our budget?
No.
Oh, we left it at 30?
No, there was no additions put on.
Okay, we left it at 33.
And,
Okay.
yeah, and our salaries
And
were
so,
set.
and that was absolutely dire. So I assume that corrections is pressing forward with hiring of the 33 people. So that.
And lastly, I just had one more thing. I know you're probably all ready for lunch, but.
No, we're just having more fun.
Under the, under RSA 2417, the delegation has the authority to appoint a committee to investigate claims, or, I don't have the exact, I can read it verbatim, but I'm sure you're familiar, you've been doing this for a while. There was a claim made about employees at the last commissioners meeting, and if I could briefly, it takes about 10 seconds to play it on the tape, and I would ask that the delegation consider looking into these claims made by one of the commissioners. I don't know how to best do this, but. Hi, how you doing? Pardon me. Make sure there's volume, that would be helpful. Okay, it's as loud as it gets.
I'll second on a discussion. I'll second it for discussion purposes, okay?
Okay, so, I have got a question. So Commissioner Bobson, can you clarify, what is this precise? What are you talking about?
Well, when you were doing the invoices or paying the bills the other day, I suspect you probably saw it too, or you should have seen it. We had an employee drive to Logan Airport that cost us $136 in mileage, and the individual parked for I don't know how many days. That was 108. And my feeling is if you can drive down to Dover and get on you pay the mileage and a few tolls, and then you can get on the bus and drive to Logan Airport for $44 and pay no parking for the entire time you're there. In this case, it was roughly $244 for something we could have done for less than $60.
I see it a few times that you're doing that we also pay for luggage, parking, meals, everything is paid usually. And
Well, then you could put the motion in then when you saw it.
yeah, and my want to bring also something else forward. I also see if we go into meetings, conferences, and if we have a group of people, 4 or 5 are going, and one person drive, why do we have to reimburse all the 5 people? because I see that a couple times. I see they're going in one car, they're going in one van. And when I come back to the county, I said, everyone put in for mileage.
Okay, well then why don't you
So
amend it?
why don't we have
That's-
something in that?
I think,
More than 10 seconds.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I forgot
okay.
that I had the leading part of that, where they actually adopted a policy about riding the bus and parking at Logan. The allegation is obviously that county employees are bilking the system, I guess. They're all going in a big van to a training, and they're all putting in for mileage. And when I've put requests in, asking for proof of allegations in the past, that proof has never materialized. So I'm asking the delegation to please investigate that claim, so that I or other members of the public that would like to know if that's actually happening don't have to go through, get the runaround for months waiting for proof that never materializes.
So are you suggesting that you submitted a 91A request? Did you actually request this?
I didn't this time, because most of the time when allegations are just blindly made, just flung out there, we don't get the proof. So I'm asking you to take your time to look at this money issue and save me my time from that rigmarole. Just
So-
this once, please.
So if what I'm hearing is that you're suggesting that the commissioners, one or more, make a statement and then don't follow up with proof. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes.
Okay.
Representative Cordelli with a question.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would certainly hope that when the commissioners are approving for reimbursement, anything like mileage or travel, there is supporting documentation that they are reviewing when they approve that, such as a receipt for the bus or for whatever. That should certainly be part of the process. And that is, if I might add a second point, another reason that financial audits are important, because they would test certain types of transactions and possibly pick up instances like this where documentation has not been supported for payment of something like a travel expense.
Representative Babson? Or-
I wrote it
I
down.
can assure you, Madam Chairman, on my watch, nobody has double dipped in the travel. I look at them with a fine tooth comb. The department heads can tell you, I go in there and don't sign the check if there's not enough backup information. And I can tell you, as far as I know, in the last 2 years, it has not happened.
And so may I ask the question as to if the allegation from a member of the public was that she was not provided this information.
She had not asked for the information, and I think her statement was, the statement on the machine was, it happened 3 or 4 years ago, so I don't know. But it hasn't happened on my watch.
Okay?
I can clarify if you,
Yep,
if I wasn't clear.
please do.
Not related to this issue. In the past, when I've asked for proof, or when other people have asked for proof, when specifically Commissioner Kenny has made accusations against employees or other elected officials, the information has never come in full, and most of the time not even in part, after weeks or even months of asking for that information. My first course of action for this would be to file a right to know, asking her to prove the claim that she made, that people were billing for mileage that they didn't actually incur the expense of. But I'm asking you to look into it, because I don't want to go through it again. I'm frustrated, and I think a lot of people are frustrated with with these baseless claims and not being able to get proof.
Can
Thank
I
you.
make a comment?
Representative McConkey?
Thank you. And I'm thankful for Melissa bringing her frustration forward. And I would say that there's a policy that needs, or a practice that needs to be followed, and that the person should ask under the right to know. And if that's not forthcoming immediately, that's against the law. And I'm sure the commissioners will respond immediately. And if they do not respond immediately under that, then I would like to be known, as I'm sure this whole delegation, number one. Number two, I'm glad to hear that Representative Batson, I've known for a number of years, has found a reason for a fine-tooth comb.
I didn't want to. Yeah, I can vouch for that too. Former selectman.
Okay.
If I could, the recourse under the law, the right to know law, is if that information isn't provided, our only option is to go across the street and file a right to know violation with the Superior Court. And that incurs an expense on the petitioner's part, and I've already been through that once, I'd rather not again. But it also incurs cost for me as a taxpayer because of the legal fees. Could I have some sort of vote of confidence? I don't know, I don't even know how this would fall, but a time period, some sort of backing from the delegation that if by X date the information is not, the delegation will be willing to take further consideration of this or action?
I
Can I
believe
make
so.
a comment now?
Certainly.
The only allegations what he have to make is by Melissa Siemens with her one-sided articles. She has her own agenda and she's on a witch hunt. You see it by the last thing, she initiated a bogus investigation, what she started. I've been bound at numerous times with bogus 91A. One issue wants to go through my desk. I have that email, the former HR director responded to that. The last time she didn't file any 91A, so I have no idea what she is talking about. But everything is only going after Commissioner Scanning. Everything what she write is inaccurate. Every article, everything what she write. And the taxpayers see through it. I get numerous phone calls and they say we see what little game she's playing. If she wants to have something, information, let's say file a 91A. Last week at a commission's meeting, she filed a 91A on a conversation, a private conversation what I have with an official. It's not even subjected under the 91A. That is how far and that is how ridiculous she goes. I would recommend that you just read the law so you see what's fall under 91A.
One thing, and this is on everyone, we all believe in open and transparent government. And we have no secrets. And, I mean, or even from the piggies. But we have no secrets. We have no reason to cause a problem. If a commissioner, no matter, what, makes a comment that people are doing this, then Kathy in the business office should have, because, that stuff is simply spending money. Every item of, that's expense, Kathy has a record of, and I think you probably get a sheet each week, right, or every 2 weeks or whenever you get it, that specifically outlines all these things. So it's not something that is not available. And so perhaps what you should ask for is this, whatever it's, I don't know what you call it, but your
Expense account?
yeah, your expenses that have been approved, every 2 weeks. and that would certainly provide what I think you're looking for. And then if you have questions about specific expenses, I think that you should certainly be able to call and talk to Kathy, and she could explain that to you. I mean, I know that if I have a question in Conway and I want an answer, I call the person that handles the finances. And they are generally very open, and there's not a problem. So if that doesn't work, let me know, and we'll do something. Representative McConkey.
I really hate to delay this any further, but I believe what the lady is asking for and what we just directed her to are two entirely different things. I believe the commissioner has made a statement that multiple people are traveling to a event, and that they have billed the county mileage for that event. Now, I don't think that's, I believe the commissioner would do that on behalf of the delegation. I will ask for that. I will ask the commissioner to provide that information, because I do agree that shines a bad light on our good employees. So I don't think she should have to go through that, and if the commissioner would refuse, which I doubt she would do, for me as a delegation member, I would ask the commissioner to come forward with that information, provide it to myself, to this individual, and if that's not there, I would expect an email, a call, something in writing that said that the person perhaps was incorrect. But if you are correct, and this has happened, this is something that needs to be dealt with. So I would hope that you could do that. I'm asking you, as a fellow elected official, to bring that information forward.
I would agree with Mark on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those opposed?
We don't want to work them all down.